Hey, friends, welcome back to Rangers of the Lost Park. I'm Liz Crandall, your host. If you've been here before, welcome back. And if not, this is a podcast about all things public lands and outdoors, focusing on rangers, national parks, forest conservation, and finding joy in a world of bad news, which we really need right now. And oh boy, if you need a joyful episode, this is the one for you. Because today I have two intriguing guests full of scientific wisdom, playfulness, and humor, a much needed vibe considering the times, I'd say. Their names are Mattison or Matt Shreero and Max Scott, both of whom are paleontologists and rangers. We love our rangers. Here we go. But before we get to the fun interview and myth busting excitement, we need to talk about the rising tide of mythical information currently plaguing the scientific world, if you will. So we're going to take it down a notch for a second, but then we're going to get back up because the interview is so fun. But before we get to that, I just want to preface what we're talking about today. What do we even believe anymore? Am I right? Misinformation, disinformation, and dishonesty is not unusual in the media, online, or especially in politics. In fact, according to a recent survey conducted by the Pew Research Center, Americans' trust in information from national and local news organizations has declined after a slight increase earlier in 2025. The decline has occurred in both major political parties and across all age groups. Overall, only about half, or 56%, of US adults now say that they have a lot or some trust in the information they get from national news organizations. So it's on the down, going down. One assistant professor of psychology in the School of Social Sciences of UC San Diego, Nadia Brashear, says when we're online, we often pay attention to the most eye catching content, regardless of whether it is actually true. Redirecting our attention towards accuracy can help protect us from misinformation. When we scroll through our feeds on social media like Facebook or Instagram, we're not always thinking about truth. Even when we do explicitly evaluate truth, we often go with our guts. I know I do that sometimes. We rely on cognitive shortcuts that save time and effort. For example, repeated content feels easier to process than new content, and people misinterpret this self proclaimed feeling of ease as evidence of truth. This illusory truth effect happens even when repeated claims contradict well known facts, which is troubling because politicians often repeat lies. In addition to these basic memory and judgment errors, people are generally more likely to believe news that aligns with their affiliated political party. The bottom line, the need to belong competes with our goal of consuming and sharing accurate content. Let's say that one more time. The need to belong competes with our goal of consuming and sharing accurate content. That's really important. We are seeing political actions operate with very little accountability, held to tear up clean energy and climate policies, lie about the scientific realities of climate change and the facts on renewable energy, and slice through measures to boost fossil fuels and the profits of polluters. Powerful politicians and billionaires are willingly ignoring urgent realities and continue to delay, distract, or lie about climate change. And I had a lot more stuff to mention to y'all because there's just so much, but the episode is super fun and Matt and Max actually address a lot of this. So I think instead of you having to listen to me yap, we should listen to them yap. I just want to say, lastly, that fossil fuels, known today as coal, oil, and natural gas, are formed from the buried, decomposed remains of prehistoric plants and animals that lived millions of years ago. Over geological time, heat and pressure transform this organic matter into combustible energy sources, which are extracted from the earth. The term fossil comes from Latin fossilis, meaning obtained by digging, referencing that these fuels are extracted from the earth. The transformation process for these fossil fuels takes millions, billions of years, making these resources non renewable. Why am I saying all of this, you ask? Well, learning does not have to be depressing. It can be fun and informative. All that stuff I just told you, very depressing. But with me today, I have some amazing people who make learning about stuff that might not be so good in a fun way to uplift and bring joy and hope to us as opposed to just dwell on all the negatives. Because that's super important. It helps us stay engaged. It helps us want to get involved, helps us want to learn more. So many different reasons. So, who better to take us through a journey through time and interpretive stories like young and lively National Park and Forest Service paleontologists Matt Shreero and Max Scott? Max Scott is a paleontologist and geologist with a master's degree from University of Manitoba, where he wrote his thesis on mosasaur behavior. He did his BSc at Indiana University, where he majored in geology with a minor in animal behavior. Max's career research interest is in the way animal behavior evolves, and I ask him later about how humans are doing, so stay tuned for that. He is also a longtime public science educator online and occasionally on television and in person at museums, schools, and public lands. Moving over to Matt. Matt Shreero is a geologist and paleontologist with a bachelor's degree from Carleton College. She is currently pursuing her PhD at Temple University, where her research pertains to the fossils and paleoclimate of Badlands National Park. Matt aims to make science fun and accessible for all by doing science communication on social media and in person whenever she can. Her goal is to help facilitate a society-wide understanding of Earth history to inspire people to protect our planet. So let's go. Hello and welcome Matt and Max to Rangers of the Lost Park. Well, welcome Matt and Max to Rangers of the Lost Park. It's so nice to have you here.
It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, love the name. I'm a big Indiana Jones fan and a big Parks fan, so it works for me.
We saw the name of the podcast and we were like, how did we never think of this? This is brilliant.
Yeah.
My partner came up with the name and I owe him full props for that because I'm also a big Indiana Jones fan and I was like, it's perfect.
That's awesome.
And it kind of symbolizes, thank you. It kind of symbolizes, like, I was a ranger, you guys are both rangers, like seeing all the things that are happening in this current political climate, it felt like we're losing things or we could lose things, especially public land. So I was like, Rangers of the Lost Park, it's just like such a metaphorical way to show like that there's people here trying to keep hold of things that we don't want gone. So I'm glad that you guys like it. That makes me happy. So you're both paleontologists and rangers, and that makes you guys the coolest nerds, in my opinion.
Well, thank you.
Total compliment. Yes, it is a compliment. I want to start with you, Matt. So can you briefly tell me what a paleontologist is for listeners that might not know, and what is your experience in working as a paleontologist and geologist and science communicator and all that stuff? Just give us a little background.
Yeah, for sure. So for starters, what is a paleontologist? A paleontologist is not an archaeologist. So a paleontologist is not Indiana Jones. I'll start there.
No.
Since we're on the topic. Paleontologists are scientists that study extinct life, all extinct life through the fossil record here on Earth. Most people, when they think of paleontology, they think of dinosaurs exclusively, but we're here to tell you that it's all extinct life. And to be a paleontologist, you kind of have to know a lot about geology, so the study of Earth and rocks and all things pertaining to it, as well as biology, the study of animals and life and evolution. So you're kind of merging both of those into one whole interdisciplinary world of paleontology. Yeah, we draw from a lot of other sciences, so it's very fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What about your work in doing that? What's your background like? What have you done? I know you work for the Park Service in the Badlands National Park, which is one of my favorite parks.
Oh, you've been?
It's so cool.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, it's so underrated too. I felt like I was on a different planet.
So underrated. I always describe it as otherworldly. Max agrees. That's where we met each other in the first place, but we'll get to that later.
Aww.
Yeah. So I've worked as a park ranger. I actually started out with the U.S. Forest Service, working for the National Grasslands Visitor Center in Wall, South Dakota. Fun fact, the Forest Service also runs national grasslands. Yeah, you've probably been to Wall.
That wall drug that you see the millions of billboards for on your way into South Dakota.
That's the exact one. Yep. So I started out as a ranger at this tiny visitor center in Wall, and Wall is right outside of Badlands National Park. And the National Grassland, which is Forest Service run, surrounds the national park. So I spent a lot of time working with the Park Service as well. Did that for 2 years and then switched over to be a National Park Service ranger for Badlands. I absolutely love doing this sort of work because it let me do paleontology, geology, and science communication all day long, which are kind of like my three things. Because it was always, just getting to educate visitors about the geology of the park or the paleontology or even doing fossil preparation or giving guided geology walks or fossil talks or all sorts of fun programs. Just chatting with people is one of the best parts of the job because everybody is so interested in the history of our planet, which
that's so interesting that you say that, because I know a lot of people that work in science tend to not be very extroverted, or they don't really like to talk to people. I would always joke with, because I worked for the Forest Service and I used to go with the wildlife crew to spot, because it was like a running joke that I would see more wildlife than the wildlife crew, because I was out in these like super remote areas that nobody else was, and that's where the wildlife is, because they don't want to be around most people. And so I'd show them where I found like the great gray owl or whatever it was that day. And it was so funny because if we had a member of the public drive up to us, they all would like run away and be like, Liz, you go talk to them.
No, it's true. And I honestly, some of my ranger coworkers were very introverted too, but as soon as you get them talking about something they're excited about, they'll talk forever. So it's fun. It's a great line of work, and it combines everything that I love, which is kind of how I fell into it. So I did that for about 4 years total, working in and around Badlands as a ranger. Prior to that, I got a degree in geology and studio art from Carleton College in Minnesota. And since Badlands, I've worked as an instructor/teaching assistant for the Sternberg Science Camps, which, if you've never heard of them, they're these amazing high school and middle school student summer camps that are focused a lot on paleontology and geology all over the country. Very fun. Max and I did that together. Sorry, I'm stealing like half of your intro.
Yeah, you're good. Makes mine go quicker.
I've done a lot of science communication on my own through social media under the username GeoSplore.
Which is amazing, by the way.
Thank you. And now I'm a PhD student in geoscience at Temple University in Philadelphia.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so now you're on the East Coast.
Yes, very ironically, I left Badlands to come to Philadelphia to study fossils from Badlands.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Well, I know that you mentioned that you love to make science fun and to talk about it in a way that engages people. Do you find that that's been something you've been working harder at, considering things that have been happening with our science information being taken away or, kind of villainized by certain people in this administration? How has that experience been for you? And have you been like making that more of a mission than before because of that?
Yeah, I would say that we both are definitely taking that into account especially with our social media science communication. Right now, as a grad student, I don't have a ton of time to do as much science communication as I would like to, but I am in a classroom teaching students all the time. And I've definitely seen some interesting changes and responses on that front as well. So I do work extra hard to make class and lab very fun for the students, because they kind of come into the room a lot of the times with the mindset, because a lot of them aren't science people. They come in with the mindset of, oh, this is just a graduation requirement. I just need to get it out of the way. I don't like science. I'm not good at science. And I try my hardest to get them laughing and having fun and understanding that sometimes science is fun and you can do it, even if science isn't your thing. So that's how...
That's a good teacher.
Oh, thank you. I don't always succeed, but I try.
I remember those teachers the most, the ones that were funny and engaging, rather than the ones that were good at their job, and taught what they needed to teach, but the ones that actually, made it interactive and interesting. Like I hate math, and I had a math teacher who is by far one of my most favorite teachers. Max is like, me too.
Oh, same. Same.
Amen.
Okay. Yeah, all three. Yeah. So I've never liked math. It makes me cry. Like I get so frustrated. I feel dumb because I'm more of an English person, and I guess more of the art side of things. And so it's just never resonated with me very well, which is funny because I have a science degree. But anyways, but that teacher that I had made me actually want to go to math class.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. It really makes a difference.
It's always so impressive when a teacher can do that. And you're right. Those are the teachers I always remember the most.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Well, Max, speaking of fun and science, I know you're in that realm too. How cool is, first of all, like how cool that you're how cool that you're both paleontologists. I mean, like that is amazing. That's like a real life Jurassic Park couple right here.
Why, thank you.
I think we're a little cooler than the Jurassic Park couple, maybe.
I would say so.
Wait, technically they're not even a couple, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, we're in the movie, not in the book.
Not in the book.
Because she was his grad student.
Yeah, so that was kind of weird.
Weird.
Sorry, I'm thinking about the book.
I'm not sure why Spielberg made the decision to make them a couple in the movie.
Yeah.
That's an interesting call. I actually didn't know that. I said yeah, but I didn't know. Anyways, well, Max, can you tell me about your background with paleontology as well? And I know you also do. You're also an animal ethologist. Is it ethologist or ethologist?
Yeah, so I say ethology,
Okay.
ethologist. But like I've heard it both ways. That's just it's just somebody who studies animal behavior, basically.
Gotcha. And you also were a ranger with the Forest Service.
I was.
And where else have you worked? What have you done? I want to hear about
Yes.
your background.
So I was very much a dinosaur and nature kid growing up. Like Zaboomafoo, that was my thing.
Oh my God, I love Zaboomafoo.
And idolized Steve Irwin, and I loved the Walking with Dinosaurs specials growing up. So it was no surprise that I ended up majoring in geology, which is what most paleontologists end up doing, or biology. I minored in biology, focusing on animal behavior science. And I only took that as a minor instead of a double major so that I could avoid organic chemistry, because chemistry is not my strong suit either. Um, so while I was there, I worked as a research assistant for the world's foremost plant paleontologist, which is called a paleobotanist, David Dilcher. He's the origin of flowers guy. So I got a lot of experience doing that. But most of the time, it was a lot of remembering his passwords for him. But
That's like that meme of like you have to
yeah,
like if somebody who's making like 5 times more than you needs help with a PDF.
Yep.
right. And I spent my summers working at the Indianapolis Zoo, which is actually one of the leading zoos for conservation work. They actually host the Indianapolis Prize, which is one of the world's most prestigious conservation awards. Harrison Ford has actually won the Indianapolis Prize. They have a whole sign about it at the zoo.
Another
But,
Indiana Jones reference.
I was gonna say
another Indiana Jones reference. There you go. And then after I graduated, I went on to we're actually working at Conservation Corps for a little while in Nevada, where we worked on restoring riparian ecosystems. That's like rivers. Believe it or not, the Mojave Desert does have rivers, and they are very needed. And protecting the desert tortoise, which is actually the most endangered reptile in North America. There's not very many of them left, and the Nevada Conservation Corps are like the only people really focused on saving them.
Oh.
And then from there, I went up north to Wyoming, and I did the Wyoming Dinosaur Center's paleontology internship. For any paleontology enthused kids, I would not recommend doing that as part of your career route.
Why is that?
They're very focused on getting your labor and not very focused on writing you rec letters or paying you enough to feasibly live while you're doing the internship. It is literally $100 a week,
Oh my
and
gosh.
it's owned by a German trust fund billionaire who will just fire you outright if he just doesn't like you. It's kind of a problem. Oh, they sell fossils. They sell fossils, which I will. Sorry, I'm going to stop railing on them in a second, but they sell fossils, and as public lands people, we hate that.
That's true.
Yes, it's true. I remember going to places that would like roadside kind of sus attractions that were like, buy your own fossil kit. And a lot of times they're like from China or something. I don't know. I'm really confused by that.
Except they're selling full dinosaurs, like full dinosaur skeletons. It's
Nicolas Cage is like, where is that?
Yeah. Well, I think full fossil skeletons are kind of a national treasure. We kind of, I mean,
that was cheesy.
we
I
should
love
take
it.
a lot of pride in that. And then from there, I went to work for the U.S. Forest Service, actually through the GeoCorps internship. That's where I met Mattison.
I should have said that I also did the GeoCorps internship.
Yeah.
The year before you.
We were at the National Grasslands Visitor Center in Wall, South Dakota, which is just outside of Badlands National Park. It's just north of Badlands National Park. We talked about all the wall signs.
Yeah.
The visitor center is actually open again. When I was there, it had just flooded the winter before, and so actual museum part was closed down, which was fine because we used to just go hang out in there because nobody else could go in there. If we needed a break, we'd just go hang out with all the taxidermies and whatnot. But that was great because that was where I kind of for the first time in a very open and official capacity got to work on educating the public directly. Where that sort of roving, interacting with hundreds of strangers per day. And I think that it really built me up as an educator by doing that. And then after that, I had a little bit of a lull, as often happens when you're building your career in a science. And I went to work at a preschool for a little while. And boy, that lasted, I think, a month because I worked there. I worked a week. Immediately after that week, got the worst pneumonia of my life.
They carry all the diseases.
They carry all the
diseases. I was just on a plane this morning, and there was a child behind me just going, oh, like right behind me, like in between my seat. I was like, why?
Oh,
why is this happening?
I was out of work for about 2 weeks after my first week because I was literally like I was having fevers of 104 and just like completely delirious.
Oh my God.
And then I go back to work and I work there for another week. And then I get an email back from another application I had put in Canada, in Northern Alberta, from the Philip J. Curry Dinosaur Museum. And they said, "Hey, do you want a job?" And I said, "Yeah, get me out of here."
Yes, please. Really missing that empty taxidermy museum right now.
Right. And so I tendered my resignation after 2 full weeks of work at this preschool, and I hightailed it up to Canada. I'm sure that was a bad look. The one male teacher at this preschool just quitting abruptly and moving to another country.
He's like,
but
God, he's so dramatic.
Yeah.
So emotional.
So dramatic.
Never hiring a guy again.
Nah.
I got to participate in research. I got to handle collections. It was great. I was kind of their everything scientific technician. So it was kind of like the paleontologist dream job for a little while. And it became like an absolute dream because the BBC actually showed up one day and was like, "Hey, we want to do a Walking with Dinosaurs episode about this for PBS and BBC."
Wow.
And I was like, I'm not gonna say no to that.
Not gonna miss out on
So
that.
That's amazing.
So I got to be in episode 5 of BBC's 2025 Walking with Dinosaurs, which was really, really incredible. Little boy me, of course, loved the original Walking with Dinosaurs, so it was like a dream come true.
That's so cool. Wait, Matt, where was Matt during all? Were you guys both in different places?
Still at Badlands.
Oh, yeah. Wow. And were you still
we were
together?
at different places.
So we weren't together.
We were just
friends at that point.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
We can tell the whole story later.
We'll tell the story.
Okay.
This is actually our chosen story will be our story.
Oh, perfect. Oh, I love it. Okay, we'll stay tuned for that.
And most recently, I've actually been the editor for another podcast, the Weird and Dead podcast, with Amy Atwater and Megan Wetherell, 2 paleontologists who work out west. And I've also been building up our geoscience education company called GeoSplore. I think Matt mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I bet, like, how big is the paleontologist community? Do you guys know, like, does everybody kind of know each other?
Like, at least
we know like 60% of people.
It's a big world, but it's a very small world. Like,
yeah. Well, even like the Forest Service, which is a large agency, like we've all worked in the Forest Service, and that's a small world.
It is.
Like you meet people, one seasonal job, and then another seasonal job. That person knows that person from another state.
It's like you're always like only 1 or 2 degrees away from knowing someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So I imagine, paleontology is such a niche, and I feel like, you guys would probably know a lot of people in there.
Absolutely.
Well, Max, my other question for you is, so your career research interest is in the way animal behavior evolves.
Yeah.
How are humans doing?
Great
I would say,
oh my God.
I would say that we have all definitely altered our way of living that is outside what we actually evolved to do. And I very strongly hold, I think there's a lot of research about this that backs this up, but I very strongly hold the belief, the very scientific belief, though science is not about belief at all, that we are so depressed all the time because we didn't evolve for this shit.
No.
Like, this is terrible.
Oh my God,
for
exactly.
Us, absolutely.
Look at exactly.
We evolved as a nomadic animal that lives in these small like packs, and then and we're inherently afraid of other packs. The more different, the more scary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you think of humans in that way and how we evolved, suddenly every mistake we keep making makes a whole lot of sense.
Oh yeah.
Racism is just tribalism, right? Sexism is just tribalism. Homophobia is just tribalism. This is stupid animal shit that like we can't move past.
Stupid
all of this, like the 2-party system, almost inevitable because you just have to have a tribe, right?
Yeah.
So we like to think of ourselves as this complex being that's beyond everything else, except we're not. I don't even know that it's necessarily fair to say that we are the smartest animal, because we are smart in the ways that we have determined is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
But there are so many animals that can do so many of the things that we can do. I mean, crows, dolphins, and maybe even prairie dogs have arguably the same language capability.
Shout out to prairie dogs.
Absolutely.
I love prairie dogs.
Prairie dogs rock.
Prairie dogs are the coolest.
Ants developed agriculture millions of years before us. I mean, the number of things, like almost anything that we tout as special about ourselves, there is another animal that can do that thing as well as us, if not better.
Yeah.
The main thing that we are different for is the amount of destruction that we've
and
caused.
Is that really smart? Is that Intelligence?
I would
I would say no.
no.
Yeah.
I don't think that I can think. I mean, there is no evidence that I have that there is another animal on this planet that if it knew that it was going to drive itself extinct, it would
Just keep
continue
doing it.
doing the thing that's going to drive itself extinct.
Well,
So
yeah, I mean, that's well said.
So you're getting us on soapboxes already. Sorry.
I
Yeah.
was like, I'm pretty
I've had
sure
a few
I knew the
soapboxes.
answer to it, which is, I don't know. We're not doing that
Yeah.
great. But speaking of stupid people, I just need to ask this now because I'm dying to know, and I'm sure you probably get this a lot. And you know, we mentioned Indiana Jones earlier. My friend Emily, who works in Kenai Fjords National Park, she's an archaeologist, so she gets asked about Indiana Jones all the time. So I'm sure you guys get asked about Jurassic Park
Constantly.
a lot.
Yes.
And so
more than we want to.
it's like totally accurate though,
Oh.
right? Like all of it.
Oh, sure.
100% scientifically accurate.
What are some of the biggest flags with Jurassic Park? And Max, I know that you had a presentation where you were talking about some of the funny parts. So both of you chime in, please. Like, what's wrong with Jurassic Park?
I'm gonna let Matt start us off.
Oh gosh.
Actually.
Okay, so I think first and foremost, the overarching thing that's wrong with it is that's not scientifically possible. We cannot bring these dinosaurs back. There's no DNA preserved in mosquitoes. There's actually no liquid blood in amber fossilized mosquitoes. It's not possible. And we can talk about that more. But if you suspend your...
Sure.
Yeah. We've talked about it a lot already with many people. But
I'm sure, yeah.
We're actually going to do, on our YouTube channel, we're going to do eventually a video called 65 Things Wrong with Jurassic Park in 65 minutes because of their whole 65 million years thing. That's one of the things wrong, by the way. The dinosaurs didn't go extinct 65 million years ago. It was actually closer to 66.
It's more like 65.6 if you want to get technical.
Yeah.
A million years difference. That's a long time.
But if you suspend your disbelief and you're watching it for, because it's a movie and you get on board with the idea that we can bring dinosaurs back, then I think one of the biggest things wrong with Jurassic Park is the fact that it's literally just a terribly designed zoo. Like, of course everything went wrong. It's a horrible
what do you
design.
mean that your entire staff is in one office and if the tech guy gets pissed off, he can just turn all the cages off? What are you talking about?
Yes,
there's no backups,
I've heard
there's no redundancies. It's a terrible setup.
Where are all the zookeepers? What are you doing?
Where are they?
What are you doing? What? Give me three. Give me your top three. What are give me some dinosaur stuff. What are the top three? Like the most, I have one just to ask about I almost said lizard. It's not a lizard. I'm sorry. The dinosaur that sprays stuff, venom, at the guy that runs away.
Dilophosaurus? Well, I'll say there's no evidence it didn't do that, but there's certainly no evidence it did.
Yeah.
I think, okay, so Dilophosaurus in real life, that's like the one dinosaur that they made too small. Everything else is too big.
Yeah.
Dilophosaurus, somehow they made it like a quarter of the size of what it's supposed to be. Real life Dilophosaurus was like bigger than a polar bear. It's huge.
I think that'd be scarier too. Why did they do that?
Well, it was the largest predator of its time. It probably didn't need to spit venom. If we're being realistic, it probably didn't need to open up flaps unless if it was some kind of sexual display. That does happen.
He was like, damn, this guy is doing it for me.
Yeah, because there wasn't any predators bigger than them at that time. Dilophosaurus was the biggest predator in its ecosystem. It doesn't make any sense for them to have these big defensive flaps or spit venom.
And
I can't say that it didn't. I'm just saying it's not parsimonious. Yeah.
And while we're sitting here saying that most of the dinosaurs were too big, some were too small, but most were too big, I want to bring up the raptors because at the time that the movie came out, the only known raptors were very small. They have since discovered a much larger raptor.
Velociraptor
is very small.
It's the size of like a dog.
Yeah, they're tiny.
Yeah.
But they have since discovered Utah raptor, which is much larger and from Utah. Velociraptors, first of all, you're not finding in Montana, as they mentioned at the beginning of the movie. Second of all, very small. And then later, only later, did they find a large raptor.
Yeah, after Jurassic Park came out in Utah, Jim Kirkland found a claw that was like that big. They called it Utah raptor.
And they said that they found Spielberg's raptor.
Yeah. Well, yeah, literally Bob Bacher, who's another famous paleontologist, called Jim Kirkland on the phone and he was like, hey, Jim, you realize you found Spielberg's raptor, right?
So before anybody comes after us for saying that everything was too big and they're like, actually, the Velociraptor is close to the right side. No, that's Utah raptor and it was found later.
Yeah, it was found after. Exactly.
Okay, good to know. Okay, give me one more false part of Jurassic
actually,
Park.
one that has always really upset me is the whole don't move. It can't see you if it can't move. You'll move. Like okay. T-Rex's eyes are like the size of grapefruits,
They're
and they're
huge.
pointed directly forward. They're pointed directly forward. They had great depth perception. They can see you if you're moving or not. Even if, like, for some reason you not moving made it hard for them to like process it, the moment they move, you shift perspective because they have depth perception. Even still, let's just say that wasn't true, and they couldn't see you if you don't move. They could smell you like no other animal has ever been able to smell before. In fact, some people say the T-Rex might have had 3-dimensional scent tracking.
I don't even know what that means, and I don't even want to.
Like they can smell to the left and to the right. Like they know which direction the smell is coming from.
Is crazy.
There's no way. The olfactory bulb in a T-Rex's brain is the largest olfactory bulb that has ever been observed in anything's brain ever. Even if they couldn't see you for whatever reason, which isn't true, they could smell you and they would know if you were right in front of them. T-Rex comes down and sniffs them and like knocks off Dr. Grant's hat. That should have been a chomp right there.
So if you ever find yourself in a Jurassic Park scenario, that's not going to help you. Basically, you're screwed.
Actually, do run.
Dinosaur
do run
safety
because
101.
you can run about as fast as a T-Rex.
True. Start running.
Like, yeah.
Overall, we hear a lot about Jurassic Park, and we deal with a lot of people who think that they're paleontologists because they're big Jurassic Park fans. I didn't say that, but I did say that.
Dino Bros. We call them
Dino Bros.
Dino Bros.
But we have to give Jurassic Park a shout out for increasing passion for paleontology because dinosaurs are such a gateway like science in many ways. Paleontology is a gateway science, but yeah, it created a lot of misconceptions.
I think that, that makes sense. And I feel similar. I mean, I'm not a paleontologist, so I don't know all the ins and outs. I just have heard and know that it's obviously not accurate. I mean, first of all, it's a fictional story, of course, but then also, like, I think a lot of it was just made for, like, sensationalism and, like, you know,
I will say
cinema reasons.
The book is more accurate than the movie. It's not perfect, but it is more accurate than the movie.
Not only is the book more accurate than the movie, the first movie is more accurate than
all of the
later movies. As they go on, they get less accurate.
They just get weirder too. I'm like, I kind of lost interest. I like the OG Jurassic Park.
The first one's by far the best.
Yeah, it's a classic. Okay, well, speaking of fact versus fiction, it is time to debunk. We are going to do a debunking of Paleontologist Edition. So thank you both so much for joining for this. I'm really excited to learn, and I'm going to present a statement to you, and then you're going to let listeners know if it's myth or fact.
Ooh.
And I've got earth science topics that range from dinosaurs to climate to history and all sorts of stuff. Are you guys ready?
Oh, we're so ready. We might be a little too ready.
Some hot takes up in here. Okay. All right. First one is the Earth is only 6,000 years old.
Oh, I heard this one before.
So wrong.
It's so wrong. Such a mess.
Not only is it not, it literally cannot be.
There's no possible way.
Not only is it not, but
yeah. The Earth is, for people who don't know, about 4.54 billion years old. And the way that we know that is because of something called radiometric dating. Everybody's like, oh, carbon dating. Carbon dating is not something that we use for dating things that old.
Archaeologists use it again. It's not us.
Something archaeologists use and like people who study young things, because carbon dating only goes back about like 60,000 years. That's like its maximum range. In geology, we usually use like stable isotopes for what we call radiometric dating. And in particular, zircons are like the most useful mineral for doing stable isotope dating. So zircons... I have
no idea what you just said.
It's a mineral. So a zircon's a mineral, basically. And in zircons, they've got this very famous element called uranium. They've got a lot of uranium in them. And over time, uranium decays into lead. So the rate that uranium decays into lead is something that is consistent and calculable. And so we know the exact rate that uranium decays into lead. And so we can determine what's called half-life. That is the amount of time that it takes for half of a sample of uranium to decay into lead. And so if we take a zircon from whatever rock from whatever time period, we can look at the proportion of uranium to lead in that zircon and calculate how long it's been since that zircon originally formed based on the proportion of uranium to lead, based on the half-life.
Yeah.
So the oldest zircons that we have from the surface of our planet come from the Jack Hills of Australia, and they date back to 4.4 billion years old. 4.4 billion years old, obviously, that's still fairly younger than the 4.54 billion years that I just mentioned. So actually, that age 4.54 comes from moon rocks. And the reason that we date the Earth off of moon rocks is because on the Earth we've got plate tectonics. So the rocks are cycling all the time. There are very few rocks that are still from the early days of Earth because a lot of them have subducted by now. After 4.54 billion years, that's a long time to have these subduction cycles. So it's not really surprising that very few of the rocks on the surface are still from Earth's oldest times. The moon, however, does not have plate tectonics, and the moon resulted from the debris of Earth cooling just as a separate body going around the Earth.
Well, there's a couple
And we
different
know that
hypotheses, but that's one of them.
there are a few different hypotheses. That's kind of the leading hypothesis, is that the moon is at least made of the same stuff as the Earth, because the rock chemistry of the moon is essentially the same as the rock chemistry of Earth, which is not
I
true of
didn't know
any of
that.
the other. It's not true of any of the other planets in our solar system, but it is true of the moon and the Earth. And so when we date the moon's rocks, those zircons in those rocks date back to 4.54 billion years old. And so we assume that because the moon has been stable for that whole time without plate tectonics or anything else going on, that is a more accurate number for the age of the Earth than the oldest rocks that we've found on Earth, which are 4.4 billion years. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Matt, did you have anything to add to that?
All of that is so true. And like the zircons are really the key to unlocking actual numerical dates for the oldest rocks we have on Earth. There's also meteorites and other space debris that have hit Earth that have helped us figure this out as well, rather than just the rocks from the moon. But I wanted to just like back it up even further and say that there is no way that the Earth is 6,000 years old, because of one fundamental truth that geologists always repeat, which is the present is the key to the past. What we see and what we observe now has to have been true in the past as well. Otherwise, we simply don't understand Earth systems, right?
In terms of Earth processes.
Yeah, in terms of Earth processes. If you're watching sediment erode from a rock and be transported down a river and deposited somewhere else, that is a slow process. And it's an even slower process to build up enough sediment to compact it into rock over time and to turn it into something like sandstone, for example. It's a very slow process. There is no way, with the amount of rock we have on the surface of the Earth, that all of that could have built up in 6,000 years, not to mention formed into mountains and all sorts of other very dramatic geologic features we have. And this is not a new idea. William Smith is a historical figure. I believe he was an English naturalist. He wouldn't have called himself a geologist at the time because this was pre-geology. But way back in 1788, he was hiking around. He was actually the first person to map the geology of the UK. He created the first geologic map, and during this, he visited this place called Sicker Point. And he noticed that the rocks, there were two layers of rocks, and on the bottom, the rocks were all tilted. They were all angled up. And sitting directly on top of the angled rocks was some flat rocks. And this was like a huge big brain moment for the time, he looked at that and went, wow, there used to be mountains here. Because those angled rocks, you don't have angled rocks unless you have mountains. Angled rock layers. There used to be mountains. Now they have eroded all the way down. And then after that, more rocks got deposited on top, and they're flat layers. So that's a lot of time right there. And he was one of the first people to use that to kind of disprove that the Earth was only 6,000 years old, or only as old as they've determined at that point from, like biblical math or whatever they were doing at the time.
Yeah. Then they said witch and burned him.
Yeah, exactly. No, they didn't actually burn him. Copernicus, on the other hand, they did.
Oof.
Mountain building is an extremely slow process.
Yeah.
I mean, the fastest building mountains on our planet right now are the Himalayas, and they're going at like something like the rate of your fingernail growth.
Because tectonic,
and they're eroding at the same time.
Yeah, and tectonic plates move at about the rate your fingernail grows. So yeah, it cannot happen quickly, because now we have data. We've observed all of this happening in real time, because geology is a verb, not a noun. It happens very slowly, but not so slowly that we can't perceive it after now we've had many decades, almost a century of study going into all of this. So
yeah, we have a lot of instruments that we can measure these things with. I mean, our continent is currently moving. Every continent is currently moving, and we can use satellite data to measure how fast those continents are moving. Like currently, they're moving slowly, and that's not even mentioning the fact that you find fossils of the same species on different continents up to a certain point, and then you stop seeing that, right? Like Pangea. right? We know Pangea for a fact happened because you've got species, land species, that live in South America that also live in Siberia. And they're the same species, and they can't go all that far. No animal can do that. No animal can walk across the Atlantic and then all the way up until Siberia. That's only possible when you're living on just a single supercontinent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the rate of continental motion, I mean, it's just physically the Earth cannot be 6,000 years old.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for clearing that up. That is very informative, and I learned a lot. Okay, next one is dinosaurs went extinct because they got too cold during the Ice Age. They just needed a blanket.
This one's actually 100% true. No, I'm completely kidding. 100% false. So,
and cavemen were running around in little cars and, and using them as like bells and stuff.
First and foremost, the last of the non-avian dinosaurs went extinct around 65.6 million years ago, which is about 65 million years before the most recent Ice Age.
Okay.
The Ice Age we think of with mammoths and saber-toothed tigers and all that good stuff, we've never found fossils of those animals anywhere near the layers that have the dinosaur fossils, right? They're never in the same layer of rock. We know that there's a lot of time separating them because you don't just have, a planet filled with dinosaurs and then the next day you wake up and you have mammoths and all sorts of crazy, huge mammals. It just doesn't happen. So they're separated by a lot of time. Again, the Earth is very old and things happen very slowly, and we've got almost 65 million years in there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, actually, what did happen was a giant space rock, 6 miles wide, made of pure iron, hit the southern part of the Gulf of Mexico at Mach fuck.
Yeah.
And set a shock wave all around the world.
That is an official numerical way to
and sent the world into this kind of shock, right? Like everything in the immediate vicinity died
vaporized. Completely vaporized.
And
that's where I would have wanted to be.
No, me too. I always say that. I always say that. You do not want to be in the aftermath. It's way worse.
For hundreds and hundreds of miles, nothing survived. For in the distance of thousands of miles away, it was things that were extremely lucky that survived.
Because not only did the place where the asteroid hit, everything vaporized like we mentioned, but it created earthquakes larger than you can imagine, tsunamis going in all directions, dust, particulate matter, everything flying out. Literally, it was moving so fast, it just created like a ball of fire that extended outwards in all directions. Like nothing made it through that. And if it did, they were very lucky.
And we were able to calculate this. Well, not we.
I wish.
Alvarez was able to calculate
We're
this.
actually 65 billion years old.
Yeah, exactly. Based on a crater filled with shocked quartz. I mean, obviously things have changed a lot in 66 million years, but the remnants of that crater still exist at the southern parts of the Gulf of Mexico. There's all these caverns where all the rock got overturned, and there's all this shocked quartz, which in the modern day only happens in nuclear explosions
or craters.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then to top it all off, all around the world, everywhere where rocks from the end of the Cretaceous are represented, you have this little thin layer of this very specific type of clay called iridium. And this mineral iridium does not form on Earth, but where you do find it a lot is in giant meteorites.
Sorry, I got excited. I get excited about the iridium layer.
So this iridium layer all dates back to
Nothing
the
excites me like iridium.
I'm always saying
this iridium layer that goes all the way around the world. It all dates back to the same time, the end of the Cretaceous, and underneath this iridium layer, there's a bunch of dinosaurs, and above this iridium layer, there are no dinosaurs.
Gotcha.
The really cool part is that actually the scientists who helped figure this out, they found the iridium layer and shocked quartz and noticed the patterns in extinction about a decade before maybe 2 decades, a long time before they ever managed to find the crater. And it was scientific drama. People did not want to, it was a hot debate. People did not want to believe it because we had been
cover it up.
They were like, no, this is.
Well, if you want drama, go to a paleontology conference sometime. They get bad.
Everybody who was against this idea was saying, you don't have enough evidence. You've got this iridium layer all over the world, but maybe it's just a period of non-deposition, because iridium does rain down from space onto the surface of the Earth all the time, but it's in very, very, very tiny quantities. Very tiny. The amount they were seeing.
This much iridium is insane.
Yeah, the amount they were seeing in that clay layer is just absurd. it would have represented millions of years of non-deposition. It didn't make sense. And so
Which doesn't make sense everywhere in the world, right?
And they were noticing...
It's only there. There's nowhere else in the world that you can find that much.
No.
It's only at the top of the Cretaceous rocks, and it's everywhere. In Italy, in Asia, here in North America, in South America, you've got this iridium layer at the end of the Cretaceous everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere that the end of the Cretaceous is represented in the rocks, the iridium layer is there.
Yeah. As long as it hasn't been eroded away since then, it's there. And the closer you get to the crater, the bigger it gets, and the more shocked quartz you're seeing from that impact. So they were the way they were able to piece it together was really neat. And people were very, very against it at first because they were like, this is catastrophism. You're saying things can happen really suddenly when we finally have gotten a stronghold on everything happens really slowly and rocks form slowly over time and mountains build slowly over time. That's what they would call uniformitarianism. But if we know that the present is the key to the past, then we know that sometimes there are catastrophes.
I also think there's two truths at once.
Yeah.
You can have things that take millions of years to happen, and then you can have things that happen instantly.
Every once in a while.
And that goes back to like humans and how we've evolved. And it's like, yes, we are very smart and we're intelligent, but we don't know everything, and we don't know why everything happens the way it does. We just know that it has.
Exactly.
And I mean, we can hypothesize and look into that and find, like different theories and come up with different research dedicated to that. But like truly, like, there's things are unpredictable and that's out of our control. And I think people get really scared of that.
Absolutely.
And then they sensationalize it and fearmonger it and don't want to believe it.
Right. Well, because you're right. Absolutely. Multiple things can be true at once. Plate tectonics, always a slow thing. Mountain building, always a slow thing. But giant space rock, that's something that, I'm sorry, no matter which way you look at it, that's a fast thing. That's going to happen. That's going to happen quickly. And we know that they're out there. Even at that time, we had telescopes.
We've seen the moon.
That there were
it's
giant,
very cratered.
Meteorites out past Mars.
Yeah.
The idea that one could get knocked off course and come our way isn't exactly like ridiculous or religious in any way. I mean, but people would get really mad about catastrophes happening in the past.
To your point of dinosaurs being too cold and going extinct because of an ice age, while there wasn't a true ice age, you kind of have a point because that asteroid sent up a bunch of dust and particulate matter into the atmosphere, which did...
And probably triggered a lot of volcanism.
Yeah.
I mean, the shockwaves that went through the planet, a few volcanoes are going to pop over that.
They're like,
oh, God.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of shit in the atmosphere, which literally physically blocks out the sun. And actually...
There was a nuclear winter for a little
while. In the aftermath of the impact, the Earth got plunged into a long-term winter, essentially. So the reason that was so detrimental, though, wasn't that it necessarily killed the dinosaurs directly, but rather that...
No, wasn't that they all freeze to death?
Yeah, not necessarily.
They starved to death.
Because this prohibited photosynthesis. And if you can't photosynthesize, you can't grow plants. And if you can't grow plants, then your herbivores are going to die. And if your herbivores are die, then all your carnivores are going to die. And we know how that goes.
Yeah, like I said, I would have wanted to die instantly.
Yes, vaporize me with the asteroid. I do not want to be there afterwards.
For the next one, it's on dinosaurs still. Birds aren't dinosaurs. Right?
If birds, the only way that you could possibly say that birds aren't dinosaurs is if you also say that T-Rex isn't a dinosaur and Brachiosaurus isn't a dinosaur. So let me explain. There are two major groups of dinosaurs. The Saurischians and the Ornithischians. The Saurischians are called the bird hip dinosaur, or the Saurischians are called the lizard hip dinosaurs, and the Ornithischians means bird hip dinosaurs. I will let you guess which one the birds belong into. Nope. It's actually birds are lizard hip dinosaurs.
Which the first time I learned that, I was like, my brain is broken. Nothing makes sense.
Well, that's because this is etymology from the 1800s.
This is just how things were named. Yeah.
Because they looked at the hips of the dinosaurs and they were like, well, these ones kind of have a hip that's shaped like a bird hip.
This one's giving chicken.
Exactly.
Right. And these ones have a hip that's shaped more like a lizard hip. As it turned out, the group that includes the lizard hip dinosaurs ended up including birds. But I'll get to that. So basically on the lizard hip side, you have the sauropods and the theropods. Sauropods are the long neck dinosaurs. Theropods are the two-legged meat eaters. And on the bird hip side, you've got duck-billed dinosaurs and ceratopsids and things with scary tails like Stegosaurus and Ankylosaurus and like things with scary heads like Pachycephalosaurus. You've got all those combative plant eaters on that side. This group that includes birds is the theropod dinosaurs, and also saurischians. So the theropods fit into the saurischians, and the birds fit into the theropods, along with T-Rex, along with Velociraptor. And birds in particular are Maniraptoran dinosaurs like Velociraptor. So because this evolution works on this kind of like branching trees, the only way that you can take birds out of Dinosauria is to remove all of the lizard-hip dinosaurs and say that the only thing that counts as a dinosaur is the bird-hip dinosaurs. And so you would have to remove T-Rex from being a dinosaur, and you would have to remove Brachiosaurus from being a dinosaur, because you can't evolve out of a group. It's not how evolution works. It's not how we classify things. So there's this idea that like, well, birds aren't dinosaurs. They just evolved from dinosaurs. Literally impossible. You can't evolve away from being part of a major
We can't
group.
evolve out of being a mammal.
Exactly. When I was in high school,
this is one of my favorite stories.
I was dating this girl who didn't quite understand how evolution worked. This is fair, high schooler. But we were walking, and somehow the topic of dogs came up, and I mentioned something about mammals, and she stopped and looked at me very seriously and said, "Wait, dogs are mammals? I thought they were canines."
And you're like, we're breaking up.
Right?
We're done.
So canines are also a group that falls within mammals. They didn't evolve out of mammals. They're just a group in mammals. That's birds with dinosaurs, right?
But I think it's
canines is to mammals as birds is to dinosaurs.
Exactly. And I think it's just a problem of people not recognizing that fundamentally, like, one animal is in multiple groups by definition, and the groups just get larger and larger as you go back in the evolutionary timeline. Like, we all learn at some point in school that you classify life based on kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Species is at the bottom because it's the most specific. They have the same root word. It's specific. The broader you go, the larger the group is. So yeah, you've got your species, but it also is going to fit into all these other broader groups that it is a part of as well. And so, yeah.
Okay. So birds are dinosaurs.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a pretty clear like lineage in the fossil record of this. Literally every trait that they possess is a dinosaur trait. I mean, like feathers themselves are a dinosaur trait. There's a lot of dinosaurs, not just birds, that have feathers.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that, because there's like a debate on that too, of like they had feathers, they didn't have feathers. Yeah.
So current consensus is kind of leaning towards that feathers themselves even predate dinosaurs, and that the evolutionary basis for feathers was in the common ancestor of the pterosaurs and the dinosaurs. Pterosaurs are not dinosaurs. Pterosaurs are like the sister group of dinosaurs, the like things like pterodactyl, pteranodon, Quetzalcoatlus. They're not dinosaurs.
Another one is pterodactyls aren't actually dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not actually dinosaurs, and they're not birds, but they're very closely related to dinosaurs. And they're pterosaurs.
Yeah.
They're pterosaurs. They're what we call the sister group of dinosaurs. They have a common ancestor with dinosaurs, and dinosaurs went one way and pterosaurs went the other way.
Kind of like
right?
monkeys and apes in a way. Like
they're
right,
exactly.
Similar, but they're different.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Dogs and cats. They have a common ancestor down the way, but they're different groups. Same thing with dinosaurs and pterosaurs. T-Rex probably wasn't covered head to toe in feathers, for the same reason that elephants aren't covered head to toe in fur, even though they're mammals. But elephants still have little furs here and there.
Same with us.
Because that's part of their evolutionary history. Because same with us. Yeah. A T-Rex might have had something like that too, but such a thing wouldn't necessarily fossilize very well or show up very well in things like skin impressions. And there are limited skin impressions of T-Rex. Most of the skin impressions we have of dinosaurs are from really big ones. Now, really big animals that are warm-blooded, living in a warm climate, they're going to overheat if they are covered with things head to toe. It's literally the same reason why rhinos and elephants don't have fur all over their bodies. It's because it would literally just make them too hot.
Can I just say that through all of this, I love that you're wearing your Go Birds baseball cap.
Yeah, gotta rep Philadelphia, yeah.
And I've got dinosaur hat, and you've got bird hat.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we both got dinosaur hats.
I love it.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one, we're taking a turn now, going from dinosaurs to the really fun, exciting subject of climate change.
Yes.
Not controversy at all.
No, not at all.
Climate.
No.
So this is what I want you to debunk. Climate change is a hoax.
Climate change is not a hoax. I'm going to start by saying that. Climate change is real. We have evidence of it. Even back when I worked as a park ranger, and I know Max has the same experience, you're not supposed to discuss things that are political with visitors when you're giving educational talks. It's just one of the rules. You're not supposed to. I always spoke about climate change because climate change is not political. It is science. It is 100% science. And
let's say it louder for those in the back.
It's 100% science, guys. Oh my God.
It's science.
Don't make us lose our minds.
Politicians have politicized it because they've been lobbied to do so, but it's not inherently political. It's just a reality that we have empirically demonstrated with science
over and over and over again.
It's not politics. It's just people are trying to use denialism as a political tool and like act like somehow these nerds in these academic offices are trying to like lie to you for what money.
Or my favorite one was like
they get grants sometimes. Like they're not getting rich off of.
And what's the nerd agenda?
Yeah, my favorite one was like when I was a ranger, I would get that a lot of like, oh, the government's paying you to say that. I'm like, do you want to see my paycheck? Do you want to see?
I got $15.
Do you want to see my paycheck?
First of all, I'm not being paid shit.
Yeah. Also, second of all, we're not that organized. Good God, there's no large conspiracy about climate change. It's just happening.
Anybody who's worked in the government will tell you that they are not organized enough.
A lot of stuff isn't even digitized. It's still in cabinets.
Literally. But like another argument we see a lot as geoscientists is that, well, the climate has always changed, is what people say. Climate change is a hoax. Climate has always changed. It's not us doing it. It's just natural processes. The climate has always changed. Okay, sure, the climate has always changed, but it's never, ever, ever, ever changed this fast. And we know that for a fact because we can go back into the rock record and we can see through various proxies, isotopes, ice cores, all sorts of things like the fossil record and extinction events. We can see in great detail at this point the times in which we have raised atmospheric CO2, carbon dioxide, to unsafe levels. And guess what? There's always detrimental impacts. There are always at least local, regional extinctions, if not a global mass extinction. And always in the past, it has happened slower than it's happening now. And that should terrify you.
Literally the only time it's ever happened faster than now is when a 6-mile wide space rock hit the planet.
I was just
That's literally the only time. And that's obviously extenuating circumstances.
We are the
giant space rock.
Yeah, no, at the end of the Permian, the largest mass extinction of all time, the volcanoes were dumping out carbon dioxide at rates that volcanoes had never done that before.
Wait, I'm going to pause.
And haven't since.
Pause you real fast.
You're literally surpassing. Yeah, what's up?
Sorry, I just want to clarify for people. The dinosaur extinction was at the end of the Cretaceous, and it's the worst single day to have existed on the planet Earth. But the worst mass extinction event was actually at the end of the Permian, where 96% of all life went extinct, all species went extinct. And
that was a global warming event.
Yes. Sorry,
related
continue.
to carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Yeah. So I cut you off. You go ahead.
The rate is which is happening is the problem, and evolution doesn't operate fast enough to keep up. And the fact that we're causing it is just insane. Like we already talked about earlier, like no species should get to dictate whether or not other species survive into the future. We should not have that power. And we should be doing...
Certainly not a species that can understand what it's doing. Right?
We understand what we're doing. We should be doing everything in our power to fix what we have messed up.
That's so stupid.
It's so stupid.
It's
and
greedy.
It's for
a
made-up piece of paper that is our currency.
That's exactly...
It's so why it's sometimes like I'll lay in bed at night and I'll just be like, I don't understand. Like,
Dude, same.
How did we get to this point? Not just like climate change related, but I also just think like industrially and like as a species.
Absolutely.
Like, why is money the driver?
I mean,
and not just like, oh, I hate money. Not like it's like so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
It's just like, why is this how we operate? Like,
I would love to have a Star Trek future, but we're gonna have a Blade Runner future instead.
Oh my God, that's such a good
fever dream.
Such a good way to put it.
Yeah.
No, but we're on the exact same wavelength as you. We always have discussions like that as well, like late at night when we can't sleep and we're just thinking about, the state of the world. So yeah.
Well, the next one that's related to this is we are not harming the earth. We will be fine. That's something you'll hear.
Yeah.
And you were just talking about it a bit and as from people is that like, oh, we're not actually doing this. This is normal. This is fine. But
so you want to talk about
otherwise.
You want to talk about big hoaxes. There was a big hoax, and it was to cover up the fact that we are the ones altering the climate, not the other way around.
And it's publicly documented. It's not some kind of like hidden conspiracy because it's like all of it is out there.
Yeah.
And it was shockingly, guess who did this? Guess who ran this
I'll give you one
propaganda
guess.
campaign to turn people against the idea of human-caused climate change? It's the oil industry.
Oh, yeah.
They had evidence that fossil fuel emissions were causing this greenhouse effect going back to the 1960s. Their
Oh,
own
yeah.
scientists had this evidence,
They did the research.
and they immediately were like, okay, let's pump a bunch of money into lying to people about it instead of like reporting this issue, because it was all about profits. It was all about protecting their profits. And so now when academia finally caught up, the oil industry had already put all this money into this propaganda campaign against the concept of anthropogenic climate catastrophe. And so now here we are, where there's all this confusion. People don't know who to believe. And to answer the actual question that was posed, yes, this is incredibly threatening to our species. Now, our species has done a lot to threaten every other species. In particular, habitat loss has been the number one cause of anthropogenic extinctions. So that, on top of this now climate change, which is a new driver of habitat loss, is going to cause a lot of other species extinctions.
It already
is.
Yeah.
I mean, in the last 40 years, we've lost 45% of insect biodiversity. That is terrifying.
That's so much. Like, that's
so
a crazy
much.
number.
And I feel like, and if you're observant, if you pay attention, you can see it. I remember being a kid and seeing so many more bugs outside all the time.
I was just gonna say
I'm
that.
sure you remember
and, like,
the same.
hitting the windshield of like the
yes.
car when we were driving and like sticking my hand out and be like, it's
bugs.
covered in bugs.
Yeah.
Not a thing anymore.
No, it doesn't happen
But
anymore.
climate change is also already affecting agriculture, wildfires, growing deserts, water availability. Climate change is affecting agriculture, and we have become a species that relies on agriculture for our existence. So there are some species that are going to make it through this mass extinction. I believe that coyotes will make it through. I believe the crows will make it through. I believe the raccoons will make it through.
Rats always make it
every
through.
mass extinction,
Cockroaches, rats.
every mass extinction, it is these generalists that can survive off eating anything and can just kind of like breed like hell, and just generalists. They make it through mass extinctions. We have over specialized and we've become to rely on aspects of our planet that we have not protected. We've backed ourselves into a corner. And so while things are going to make it through, I have no confidence that we will.
No.
Maybe that's for the best, but like maybe I would like my kids and grandkids to, not live in a post-apocalyptic hellscape.
I mean, I always say this. It's about being able to think on a time scale longer than your own life. It's about being able to think into the far future and into the far past to understand where we've been and where we're going to go. That's why we always make connections between paleontology and conservation, which a lot of people don't inherently understand the connection there. But when you study climate events in the deep past, you can understand and predict where we're going to go in the future. It's actually not very hard. Like, it's actually very apparent, and it really helps you understand what sort of horrible futures could be a reality if we don't change things. And we also always like to emphasize that, like, it's not too late to change things. Every time humanity actually comes together and tries really hard to fix something we fucked up, things do bounce back. We've seen recovery in monarchs. I saw recently a positive report about monarchs coming back. Max and I both got to help out with the conservation of the black-footed ferrets.
They're such a success story.
So cute. Oh my god, so cute.
They're still incredibly endangered, but
they're coming back.
At several hundred individuals, and they started from like 14.
Bald eagles, humpback whales. I mean, there's so many success stories now, and we have so many brilliant scientists. We can think our way out of this. But people won't work together,
let us.
And people are being greedy.
We literally can save the world. It's just a matter of getting past these greedy bastards who care more about their wallet for the short time that they have left than they care about what they're going to leave behind. I care about what I'm going to leave behind.
Me too.
I feel like it's ironic too that a lot of these people, and I'm specifically thinking of people in this current administration because this is a trend that we're seeing in just getting rid of science and calling it a hoax and all this stuff. And I think it's ironic that these are the same people kind of chastising people for not having kids and not having more, not reproducing more.
There's 8 billion of us.
But it's like, okay, you want more people. You want future generations, but then you don't want to preserve the climate that our future generations will have to endure when you're long gone.
It's the same mindset of like,
it doesn't make
it's
sense.
the same mindset of this. It's the same exact people who don't want you to have an abortion, but then don't give a shit about the kid after it's born.
Exactly.
You don't care about the future if you're not protecting our climate and our ecosystems now.
This is when like politicizing these really important issues is so dangerous.
So dangerous.
And it's so frustrating, especially as folks who understand a lot of scientific knowledge and have a lot of experience working in different, there's paleontology, geology, wildlife biology, like there's so many different areas people study and can help form a better future, but the funding is being cut. They're not being taken seriously. We saw all these park rangers get fired last year, myself included.
Yeah.
And it was just, it
was a shit show.
And it's still like on this trajectory that is really scary. And luckily there's a lot of people speaking out.
Yeah.
And people coming forward and saying, no, we need to talk about this stuff. You need to understand this. It's really important. And then on that note, the next one here is we don't need to acknowledge the history we don't like. It hurts America. What do you guys have to say about that?
I think we just had a great example of acknowledging something that has been messed up in the past with oil companies hiding climate change from people. It's super important to understand history. I mean, it's so important. History is... we take it further back than most people. We're thinking geologically, but we've said it over and over again. We study climate events in the deep past to understand where we're going in the future. We learn from our mistakes so that we try not to repeat them. That's what they always say about history, right? Like those who cannot remember the past are doomed to repeat it. Same goes for the deep past. Yeah, the history of the U.S. specifically, though, is being hidden from people right now.
The truth is, our country's history is riddled with the most atrocious evil that has been seen in the world in recent history. I mean, the Nazis based a lot of their tactics off of the American slave trade and slave catching. The terrible things that this country has done are things that we need to remember so we don't do them again. But also, if I wanted to take it to a more patriotic perspective, one of the most inspiring things about our history in this country, it's something that getting rid of the bad history would make us forget, is the resilience of the oppressed peoples in this country who have had to fight back to earn their rights. That's the side of history that you also lose, is the origin of the weekend. You lose the freedom of the slaves if you don't talk about slavery. You lose every win.
The suffragette movement, the civil rights movement. I mean, everything
that the people have ever fought and won, and everything that Americans have to be proud of. You lose that if you get rid of the bad parts of history. We have done, in particular, our government and our rich people have done a lot of really terrible things in our history. But the people, as in the majority of Americans, have risen to the occasion time and time again and taken their freedoms and fought for what they want. And that's the truth of what they want to hide.
And we see it.
They want to hide that you can fight for what's best for you.
And yet we still see it happening every day. We saw it happening when the park rangers got fired. We saw everybody come together and rally against that shit. We had another No Kings protest just the other day, right?
Yeah.
Literally.
I just went to the one in Seattle. When was that? Yesterday?
It was the largest protest ever in the U.S., I think. Like,
over 8 million people.
Actually insane. The people are coming together because
it's our tendency to resist in the face of oppression and stand up for each other that we really have to be proud of in our own history.
And that's patriotic.
And you lose that when you lose the terrible things that we've done as well. Yeah.
That's super well said. Well said. Yeah, we could talk about this for a long time, I think, because it's something we're all really passionate about.
Clearly. I mean, you were directly impacted by it. I can't even imagine your story there. I mean, we know so many friends who got fired. It was terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah. And it goes to the vein of community is so important. And I think, some people, there's already, of course, some mainstream media kind of painting the No Kings protests as like useless and whatever. And then there's people saying like, we need to do more, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, I hear you guys. Okay. But that is a road to a better means.
Yes.
Like having these big protests builds community. At the Seattle one, I usually go to more of a small town one where I'm living, but I was in Seattle for work, so I was like, oh, I get to go to No Kings in Seattle.
That's
This is
awesome.
exciting. And yeah, it was huge. There was over 100,000 people. It was massive. And then they ended at the Seattle Center, and they had all these different booths with local organizations.
Oh, that's
and then
amazing.
they actually had this thing where they divided people out into like the neighborhoods they live in so they could meet their neighbors.
Oh, that's
and I thought
brilliant.
that was so cool.
Oh, that's so smart. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
I was like, that's so cool. And so that's like, yes, this maybe it seems on the surface this protest isn't making any change. Maybe. I disagree. I think that this creates more community. I think that it makes people come together and it just further promotes change and people speaking out. And I think that's beautiful.
That's
And is it
amazing.
perfect? No. But it's something when we could have just done nothing. So
It's something.
I like it.
I also think it shows the people who are stepping too far how many of us are ready to stand up to
It's
them
true.
the moment they go. I mean, I'm surprised that we haven't already like had like a whole battle of Bunker Hill going on, but it shows them that they can only push us so far because there are that many people that are going to push back.
As individuals, it's hard to accomplish a lot, but as a group, we are united and we can accomplish quite a bit. I mean, the last time we went to a No Kings protest here in Philadelphia, it was so powerful because at the end, the march ended in front of Independence Hall.
The birthplace
where the Declaration was signed. We were standing
That's so powerful.
in front of Independence Hall, and it was insane. You've got all these, it's a National Park Service site. You've got all these, flags around talking about how next year is the 250th anniversary of our nation. We're sandwiched between Independence Hall and the National Constitution Center on the other side. I mean, people were...
And the Liberty Bells.
Yeah, the Liberty Bells off to the side. Like, it's crazy. People were really coming together, and they had amazing speakers and all sorts of cool resources as well.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. Okay, last one here. Last debunking is scientists are boring and soulless.
I mean, I guess that's for the listeners. I guess that's for the listeners to decide. Are we boring and soulless? I hope not.
I would say that scientists are too neurodivergent to be boring.
Usually, yeah. We might be a little bit crazy, but...
In paleontology, we like to say that we're on kind of a spectrum between cowboy and autism, and everybody falls somewhere on the line in between. Wherever ADHD is, that's where me and Matt are. I feel like that's halfway
in between, right?
Yeah, I feel like it is.
Yeah, all over the place there.
But I think this is an important thing to bring up too, though, because it speaks to a larger issue. Like the public right now, especially, they commonly see scientists as being boring or living up in the ivory tower, right? I always joke that Earth scientists aren't in the ivory tower. We're down in the dirt. Like, we're not up there, guys.
Literally blue-collar scientists.
Beyond just, like, that being a perception of us that we don't like, it's more important than that because it inherently breeds mistrust of scientists and their findings, which, as we have seen throughout the course of this conversation, is a problem because scientific literacy is going down in our country and mistrust of scientists is going up. And so that's a bad combination. And if people...
AI isn't helping.
AI is not helping. Nor is it helping the climate, by the way.
Don't even get me started. Yeah.
So many people ignore the climate effects of AI. Anyway. But if we continually breed this mistrust of scientists, this issue is only going to get worse because we're at the point, especially thanks to AI, where if people don't immediately or quickly grasp something, it's much easier for them to go, well, that's not true, rather than do the extra work of trying to understand how scientists arrived at that conclusion. But Max and I are of the opinion, and I'm sure you are too, that burden shouldn't fall on the normal person. That should fall on the scientists. Scientists are failing to communicate their science. And that is so important.
I will rant about this till the day that I die.
Because
it used to be a norm to have a plain language summary at the end of a scientific paper.
Or at the beginning.
They don't do that anymore.
It's starting to make a comeback because there has been a really great push in the last few decades of scientists trying to increase science communication efforts, especially with social media, which is what we've been doing.
That's why I love you guys so much. Like, that's how I found you. It's like, oh, you guys are so funny. And you make me want to learn about this bone I've never heard of.
That's our whole goal. That literally makes us so happy. Like, you don't understand. Oh. Yeah.
Well, you're so good at it. And it's so important to have that because, like you said, like, especially I have a science degree. I'm not like I always struggled in some of the more really like intensive science subjects like biology. I love it. I find it fascinating, but it was always hard for me to remember all the terms.
No, that's so fair.
But that's why it's so helpful to have teachers going back to that conversation that can communicate really nicely and make it fun and make me interested. I had a geology teacher at my community college who made me want to minor in geology. And I was like, this is amazing. And she was so funny and she was Austrian. So she had this accent and she would like forget how to say something sometimes, and she'd just like swear in like her language. It was really funny.
That's
But
awesome.
she was incredible and made it so fun, and the field trips we did were amazing. So yeah, there's like ways you can do it. And you can, yeah, and I think it's so important for the scientific articles to absolutely have plain written language, because otherwise people are going to glance at that and be like, I don't know what the hell they're saying.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not interested in that,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, and honestly, it's
Yeah.
fair. Who's got the time to try to figure out? If I open up like, I don't know, a medical scientific paper, I'm not going to take the time to figure out what the hell they're saying
That's
to me.
true.
I don't
There's
know.
so many
I
bones,
talk
I
about
can't know
rocks.
them
I
all.
talk about rocks and bones, but different bones. Human bones have different names sometimes, and that really messes me up. Side note, don't like that. But yeah,
Yeah, well, and
We're
also
different.
among
We're
like
different.
older academics, there's this like little bit of sneering at like younger people
Yeah.
who want to do the science
We don't get
communication.
taken
It's like, no,
seriously all
I'm
the
sorry.
time.
I understand that you've obsessively like pursued the academic side of this and keep your head down, don't take any stances, whatever. I'm sure you're very brave for that. But that's not what the world needs right now. The world needs you to take stances and dumb it down for people who didn't get their PhD in
Fucking whatever bullshit you
paleopathology.
majored in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody
And it's
is.
always almost always older white
Oh
men.
my
And I'm
God.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
why are you
100%.
like
No,
this? You
so
are
Mhm.
so boring and annoying and mean, and I don't like that. And it's like,
yeah.
no, obviously not all of them. That would be a
There
generalization.
are
But
some good
I've
ones.
seen it happen many
Oh
times
yeah.
in
It's
my
too many.
time
And
Yeah.
like,
as a student, as a federal worker. It's like, come on.
and to the opposite point, like adding on to what you're saying, so many of my science communication role models, both of our science communication role models, are women scientists,
Mhm.
younger women who are out there understanding the importance of communicating this science instead of, turning into one of the old white guys sitting around in a classroom, barely lecturing at you.
Yeah, I mentioned the podcast I edit, Weird and Dead. Amy and
Yes.
Megan, they're like
Icons.
my
Icons.
heroes. They're only like 10 years older than me, but like, God, I wish they
Oh
were
my
my
God,
big
we're
sisters because
obsessed
they're
with them.
Aw.
so
We
cool.
love them
I
so
definitely
much.
want to check it. I want to check it out. That sounds really
Yeah, you
cool.
should.
Oh,
Their podcast is actually hilarious.
it's so funny. Their whole thing is that they tell
Mhm.
evolution's most embarrassing and bizarre stories, and it's like the most inappropriate paleontology related podcast you could possibly think of. Not to like
They just did an
not
episode
to like be an ad for
about the
Weird and
origin
Dead, but
scrotums.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I think it's awesome to advocate for your community and for people that you believe in and enjoy to be
Mhm.
around and listen to.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
a huge fan of
We
that.
love the
Yeah.
science, like we love our paleontology community, but our science communicator community is also amazing, and it's a slightly different subset of people, and
They keep it
they keep it
real
real. They understand.
for the
Yeah.
most
They
part. Yeah.
understand that,
I
like,
mean,
what's the point of
there are
any?
some people that let the like fame
Yeah,
get to their
yeah.
heads and they're a little like, look at me, I'm a science communicator. It's my whole identity. But like
For the most part, they're
for the
amazing.
most part, people keep it
And they
real.
understand
It's
that, like,
good.
what is the
Awesome.
point of any science you're possibly doing if the public can't understand and or like benefit from it? What's the point? What's the point?
Mhm.
So
Well, it's like any kind of creator role too,
yeah,
not just science, but
any
even like
creator.
on social media, like there's so many creators and a lot of them are incredible. And I'm so enthralled watching them. I'm like, oh, they're so
Yeah.
awesome. They're
Mhm.
really cooking. Like they make me want to like learn more and like join them on trips or whatever. And then there's some where you're just like kind of like eye roll, like this dude is so full of
Yep.
himself. Like I
Yep.
can't.
Yep.
Like it's just
Yeah,
like
Like,
I don't know.
yeah, we can think of a few.
But yeah, me too. It's so important if you're in the science community to be able to speak in a way that people can understand you
Yes.
that aren't in your field of study and to be a kind person because a lot of
yeah.
and I feel like some people don't even realize they're not coming off as
Yeah.
like interesting or kind. They're very cold. They're very yeah, and I feel like that really turns a lot of people away that already aren't super interested in hearing from them. It just kind of
Mhm.
solidifies it. So the fact that you two are out there just making such fun stuff
Well, thank
and,
you.
and really cool content it's so
Thanks.
important. I hope you never let anybody discount that because our generation especially and younger, like we're needing that so
Yeah.
much. And I think most people our age know that. I think that there's always going to be pushback from people that take it really, really seriously because there's even people in nonprofit organizations who are like, let's not do memes. It's too silly. What makes us look silly? I'm like, no, do memes.
Do memes.
Everybody
Look
loves
at the National
memes.
Park Service's Instagram page.
Yes, it's incredible. Like you could just
Yeah.
tell it's like some awesome Gen
Yes.
Z person like putting that together and it's awesome. Well, the last question here before we get into our Ranger tea is on the same vein of considering the swath of mis and disinformation we're experiencing in the world right now, how could somebody figure out what's true and what isn't? How can someone use critical thinking skills when there's just, there's a lot happening? But what do you suggest that people do if they're like, is this true or not? How can they kind of work through that a little bit?
That's a tough one because there is so much misinformation out there right now. And
That's why I started the podcast.
Yes. No, and we so appreciate people like you out there doing stuff like this to combat all of the misinformation, because it's getting to the point where the misinformation is designed so well that of course it's tricking you. Of course you're falling for it. They have learned exactly how to get to people. And we know how overwhelming life is right now. We know the state of the world. And we know that normal people, ourselves included, we don't have time to fact check every single thing. It's exhausting and it's overwhelming and it's just not feasible. So I think for me, honestly, the most important part is remembering and being aware of it, keeping an eye out for it, and knowing that you're probably going to fall for it at some point. Their whole goal is to trick you. That's okay. Of course, it's going to happen every once in a while, but don't get locked into it. You can just keep an open mind. Like if you learn that something you fell for is actually misinformation, don't hold true to that point. Try to learn more and, kind of refresh and come at it from a new angle. Don't get stuck in what you thought you knew just because that's what you thought was true. I think a lot of people fall into that trap. Be okay with the reality of it being false and be willing to course correct, essentially. Own up to your mistakes. It's like, a basic thing to do.
Usually accredited academic and research institutions are groups that you can trust. Unfortunately, now we're in the era where officially the federal government is not someone you can trust. The head of the Forest Service, for example, is a logging profiteer.
Chief
Yep.
So you're not going to be able to trust him on forest health because
he's
all
the
about
first chief that
profit.
never worked for the Forest Service.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
Actually
because
insane.
he's all about making money off of what
Our agencies like NOAA and NASA and the EPA are all taking down info on climate change. All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not saying that this...
So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, this is not a forever issue. Once the administration changes, hopefully these websites will go back to being reliable. But keep in mind that right now, government websites are not reliable.
Usually universities, museums, actually, what's surprisingly good these days is Wikipedia.
Yep.
And I know everybody says it now, but Wikipedia has, quite frankly, one of their biggest benefits is they have so many nerds that are editing constantly. I mean, you put something wrong in a Wikipedia
article,
yeah,
they're harsh.
They get it out of there immediately. And I just saw that Wikipedia just banned the use of AI.
There you go. Beautiful. Don't use AI.
Okay,
if anybody takes anything away from this, don't try to learn anything from AI because it will lie to you.
It will lie to you.
It's programmed to tell you what sounds correct, not what is correct.
It'll lie to you.
Yeah.
Online science communicators are not
perfect.
But for the most part, if you're not sure about something a science communicator on the internet is saying, check the comments, because almost certainly there's going to be somebody going, actually, well, that's not true, because everybody in the science community is way too neurodivergent to let it go.
Now, if there's one Jurassic Park dino bro in the comments saying, actually, that's not true, you can discount that. But we're saying,
yeah, it's going to usually be
if it's a lot of people in the comments.
You can usually tell.
You can tell.
Yeah, based on how they're saying it. And
actually.
Well, and if somebody seems like they're out to be a clickbaiter and whatnot, they're probably not being very honest with you, right?
Right.
But if somebody seems like they're really passionate about whatever they're talking about and it comes to science, usually they're probably pretty reliable. We know a lot of science communicators, and we know that some of them have been wrong. The good ones just tend to make follow-ups
they
and
just
say,
tell
okay,
you
wait,
when
I
they're
said
wrong.
this thing. Here's the more accurate thing. I messed up.
Yeah. You have to back it up with substance.
Right.
People that work for the Forest Service or the Park Service, if they're like, you have to listen to me because I'm a ranger, that's not a reason to listen to somebody.
You have to know your shit.
You should listen to me because I have experience working in this park and I've seen XYZ happen. And because I've seen that happen and know how bad it is, that's why I encourage you not to do that. You give a solid response with information and to help people understand. You don't
absolutely
just shove it.
It's the best way to get through to people.
Yeah.
The best way to get through is to give them a point of connection and be like, hey, I've experienced this. Learn from my mistakes.
Yeah.
And you, the audience, anybody watching, just if something doesn't sound right, you can just double check. Look it up. There are going to be websites that are not reliable. Usually they end in .com or .info, and these days .gov. But for the most part, if you look at a .org or, like I said, Wikipedia, You're going to find the answer. And if things don't line up with what you heard, just think about, from what you know about reality, what really makes more sense. And think critically here. Don't just think about the most two-dimensional thing. Think about all these components of reality. What actually comes back to make the most sense in the trends that have been observed? And do they provide data to support that there is a trend?
And the more that you do this, the more you think like this, the easier it becomes too, because scientific literacy is a practice skill. And the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. It's going to take up a lot of time at first, but it's going to become easy. We don't even have to think about it now. And it's worth it. It's worth it because there's so much misinformation out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well said, you two. Thank you so much for answering that. I know there's no perfect answer to it, but we can at least give people some ideas of like, don't just believe that crazy headline or that Facebook post your weird aunt put.
Or at the very least, don't like repeat it to other people. For the love of God, just like keep it to yourself.
Misinformation is meant to be a little overwhelming. They throw it at you at a rate that it's supposed to be so fast that you can't question all of it. Like, just build up the skill for critical thinking, essentially. Don't rely on AI. That actually is scientifically proven to reduce your critical thinking skills.
Yeah, exactly.
So scary.
And it ruins creativity. And
totally.
Anyways, I don't want to go on an AI rant because I will go off. I'm going to refrain.
We could too. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for answering all of the questions, and now we're going to go into Ranger T. So Matt and Max, could you please tell our listeners a story from your time outside as paleontologists, geologists, rangers? Take it wherever you want.
So we were debating this for a while. We were like, what story are we going to tell? Because we have so many different stories. We have so many weird little stories, funny little stories, but we were like, we've never actually taken a moment to tell our followers and our friends like our story, how we ended up together. So we thought maybe we could spill the tea a little bit.
Please.
Because spill the Ranger tea, because it involves us being paleontologists and geologists and rangers and outdoor enthusiasts.
It starts as a Ranger
story. And it ends as us being silly ADHD science communicators together. So yeah. Do you want to start?
Oh, okay, I can start. So this story starts once upon a time in the age-old time of 2022, right after the weirdest time to be alive for people our age. I went to work for the Forest Service, like I said earlier, as the GeoSplore intern, and I was sitting at the desk one morning, and in walks this crazy, frazzled woman with way too much energy for 8 a.m. in the morning.
Okay, let me give context. Let me give context.
She's like, wait a second.
Because you, as the intern, got to live in the bunkhouse behind the visitor center, which was like a 5-minute walk to work. I had been the intern the year before, so I knew exactly that you had just woken up. I, at this point, lived 45 minutes away, so I had already driven for 45 minutes, and I had an entire cup of coffee, and I was running late, so I was nervous about getting to work on time. So I came rushing in the door, and I forgot that the new guy started that day.
And so she's like rushing past the desk, and she's like, "Hey," and like gives me this like double take, and then keeps walking, and I'm like, and then I think about a minute later, she's standing over me like, "Hey, who are you? Are you the new intern?" Yeah, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Max," and she's talking to me so much. I'm like, okay, what is this? It's 8 a.m. I think I dropped what I thought was subtly into the
Oh, it was not subtle at all.
Girlfriend at the time.
It was not subtle at all. It was about 3 sentences in. It just like it's like, I have a girlfriend. I was like, dude, I'm just talking to you. Jesus.
I was just establishing boundaries because at the time I did have a girlfriend.
I was like, I'm talking to my brand new coworker, but okay.
I'm just being nice. What the heck?
Well, I'm not used to people so enthusiastically talking to me at 8 a.m. standing over me. Like I didn't know what.
This makes me sound like a morning person. I'm not at all a morning person, which makes this even funnier.
Not. I've come to learn
that. The best part of it was that, like, from my perspective, I walked in, I was like, oh, new guy. So I put my stuff down. I go to introduce myself, right? And I understand that I was being a lot, because that's how I am sometimes. And I was excited because we had a really good team going at that visitor center. All the Rangers were really fun. And I was like, this guy's either going to make or break the vibe. Everything could be ruined. So I need to go suss out the vibe. 2 minutes in, I was like, he's kind of cute. 2 minutes later, he's like, I have a girlfriend. Then immediately my brain shifts and I'm like, I've like already vibe checked him completely. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we're going to be best friends, because I can already tell that we're going to be best friends. And he didn't know that, but in my brain, it was already true.
That did end up being true.
Like, it's settled.
She ended up becoming one of my best friends of all time within like a couple of weeks.
The best part was that we only worked together once a week. Our schedules were opposite.
Yeah, one day a week.
And we had no overlapping days off.
It was my favorite day of the week.
Oh, mine too.
It was my favorite day of the week. And then we would go out fossil hunting, and like I said earlier, the visitor center was closed down because of a flood, so we got a trailer out front. We ended up spending just one day just like loading it up with all these exhibits and things. There was this other coworker we had, total control freak. She wanted to do it, but while she wasn't working, because she did things in a boring way that didn't make any sense. While she was out, we went into the closed visitor center, grabbed a bunch of stuff, and we did the entire thing, and it was great. And that other coworker blew up about it, but it was worth it.
It was so worth it because we increased the educational quality of that visitor center, or the temporary visitor center, by a lot. And the other thing that allowed us to get to know each other really well and work together so well was that we got to go out into Badlands as like a roving team. And so we'd go out and stand at an overlook and talk to visitors. And it wasn't it wasn't like we'd had to talk to them about a certain topic. It was just like educate them about the national grasslands and the national park. And so
of course, usually we talked about geology.
We would go to the overlook where you could see all of the layers of the Badlands, all of the rock layers exposed from one place.
From the Cretaceous up to the end of the Oligocene.
Millions and millions of years of rock. So we would sit there and wait for people to come talk to us. And then we would do
like a trap.
Oh my God.
Come talk
it was a total trap.
It
was a total trap because people don't know they're asking us about paleontology, but or geology. They'd always come up and they'd look and they'd be like, wow, it's so beautiful. And then they do this thing where they like gesture vaguely and they go, how did all of this happen? And you go,
you guys to crack your knuckles.
Like, oh, you don't know, but you just asked about geology. And then we would do this great...
Get ready for 3 hours.
Exactly.
Together.
I would always be like, well, how much time do you have?
It was probably more information than they wanted. Yeah.
And you can always judge when a visitor's ready to leave. And we were pretty good at that.
But we got so good at like
tag teaming.
And we like, even when we hardly knew each other, we were able to like bounce off of each other so well.
And I don't know if you've ever tried to like do a program with another ranger who you aren't super familiar with, but like it's kind of awkward most of the time. And it usually, I feel like to the visitors, if you're not really well rehearsed, it looks like one person is interrupting the other a lot of the times. And it comes across as kind of uncomfortable for the visitors. We just had this natural rapport and it was so much fun. And I had never experienced anything like it. So we were just like...
It's like they walked into your little bubble.
Yeah.
And we're like, whoa.
And
what's going on in here?
We would have people that we were like, no, we've talked to you for so long. I'm so sorry. We don't want to keep you from the rest of your day. And they'd be like, tell us more. And we'd be like, oh, okay. Well, you don't have to ask us twice.
So, yeah. And then my term ended. And so I had to leave. And we were really, really, really sad about that.
Along with our other friends too.
Yeah. I mean, like we were talking about, we had like conversations about like overthrowing the government together.
Yeah.
Like,
in the Forest Service Park.
There's a total heartbreak that comes with the end of a seasonal job with the Forest Service Park Service. Wherever you're working. Yes, it's like, it's truly like, especially the places that I deeply loved working in. Even if I knew I might come back the next year, it was still like the end of an era, it felt like. And it was like,
it's always slightly different the next year.
We have to leave? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, exactly.
So for the next like less than 2 years, we like hardly spoke, but we always understood that we were still some of the closest friends.
No, I knew like I knew you were going to be in my life. I knew I was going to see you again at some point, and that like we were going to stay friends forever. But we both have ADHD. We don't remember to talk to each other.
We're both really busy. Like, she was a park ranger. I was working in Canada. Like anyway, I get to
that kind of works out because then you're not like, why aren't they talking to me? You're like, I don't remember.
And we still talked every once in a while. We collaborated on a couple projects. It was really fun because we also back in the day always talked about how we each wanted to do science communication and like talked about how we wanted to have like a kids TV show and like do all these videos online. And like we were both like in the very earliest stages of trying to figure out how to do that. And so it was really fun because we were brainstorming and thinking through all of this together, which was great.
Oh,
so fast forward to the end of those almost 2 years. I'm in grad school now. My research, which is on mosasaurs, ends up taking me to South Dakota, and I reach out to her and I'm like, hey, I'm going to visit South Dakota. Do you want to hang out while I'm there? And she's like, well, do you want to stay with me while you're here?
Because I lived 6 minutes from where he was doing research, and I was like, you're a poor grad student. Come sleep on my couch. At this point, I hadn't left South Dakota because I became obsessed with the Badlands. And so I was still working there and trying to get a permanent position and just, missing my friends from that summer. Honestly, it was such a great team. So yeah, I completely relate to the whole end of a season, end of an era thing. But yeah, he messages me. I'm like, hell yeah, come hang out. We'll catch up. It's been too long. This is great.
And of course, I didn't want to pay for a hotel because I was a poor grad student.
Yeah.
So, and of course, I wasn't going to complain about getting to hang out with her every evening after I got back from the School of Mines collections. But what I didn't anticipate was that we were up until like 3 a.m. every night just talking because we couldn't pull ourselves away from each other in these conversations. I mean, we talked about just like everything, but kind of importantly, what ended up coming up a lot was how unhappy we were in the relationships that we were at the time currently in. And we ended up being like, this was the first time I'd opened up to anybody about this. And so we talked a lot about this, and then we went our separate ways, and something was different. We kept talking, not like what it was before in that almost 2-year gap. We hadn't. And
honestly, a lot of what we kept talking about was science communication, because while we had been hanging out that week, we made our first video together, and
that's cool.
And
it's still our most successful video.
And people in the comments were like, "Oh, these two are like romantically
and we were
involved."
Like,
and at that time, we
were
was that the one where you're like, we're paleontologists?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
everybody in the comments was like, "Oh, they love each other," and yada yada.
I was like, actually, at the time, we're ex-coworkers.
These were feelings that in hindsight we had, but we had not told each other this
or ourselves.
So after I leave, we both feel really, really sad. Separately, after these conversations where we finally like face it, we need to break up with our partners. That's not really working out. Those relationships end. We're still talking. We become like our support for each other after these breakups, and then it just eventually we just keep talking to the point where like it's like, wait, is this a relationship? and then we were like, oh yeah, I guess it is. And we started like opening up and realizing how many feelings we had for each other, and probably had for a long, long time. And just suddenly this like best friendship that we had looked like this inevitable, like just lifelong partnership.
And it was so amazing because like not only did we click on such like a level of being able to communicate to each other, but also just all of our passions and interests align, and like we have the same level of drive and motivation, and all of the things we care about on a deep, deep level are so similar. From there, it just led us to, I don't know, we started branding ourselves as a duo on the internet, and since then we've just done absolutely everything together. The only thing we haven't done together is go to school yet, and we're trying to. Like we're trying to make that happen next, but we've done everything we can together. So our story ended up being one of science communication, really, at the end of the day, and being paleontologists and geologists and just caring about the earth. I don't know.
Rangers to friends to lovers, the classic.
Such a classic trope.
They write novels about it. Anyway.
Oh my God, you guys, that's so cute.
Oh, thank you.
I love love.
I should also say, and our audience doesn't really know this because we haven't officially announced it, but we did end up getting engaged in a national park. It was in Glacier National Park, and the wedding is going to be at our overlook in Badlands.
Yeah.
Congratulations, that's amazing.
So everything revolves around national parks and public lands for us, if you couldn't tell. And really just the earth, right? We're obsessed with the earth.
That's true.
And each other because we're both obsessed with the earth.
That's so beautiful. And it's like, it's so nice to be in a relationship with someone who not only, supports your passions, but understands them. Because I think that's why a lot of people don't work in relationships, because you have like, it's okay to have different passions, but to not have like an understanding of why somebody loves something so much but I don't know, she's just into that, whatever. Like actually being like,
so true.
She loves it because it brings her joy, and this is what she does, and I understand it, or he does, or they do. I just think it's so important to have that support for each other in a relationship, and also to be friends. I think that's something my fiance and I, we were best friends, like right off the bat.
We are always
similar
that.
To
oh my
you
God,
guys.
That's so cute.
Yeah, instantly when I met him, I was like, oh my gosh, like I had the same, it's so funny, I had the same situation.
No
I was
way.
like, we're gonna be best friends.
See,
and then we end up like falling for each other.
We'd be knowing how it goes. Like
we know it, yeah.
Literally, that's so cute.
And he's so supportive and like so incredibly kind. Like even right now, I was like, you can't come in the bus because I'm doing a 2-hour podcast recording. And he was like, bet. All right, I'll see you out.
So cute.
I'll be outside.
Oh, but But you're so.
But yeah, that's awesome.
It's so true. Like just being passionate about the same things, it makes life so much easier because I know so many couples that like they just don't get what the other is really passionate about. Like you were saying, like they keep their work and home life separate, which like is a concept that physically just does not make sense to my brain. I'm like,
it doesn't work for me either.
And Max and I talk about this a lot. Like when you're, I don't know, especially when you're an earth scientist, it becomes your entire life. Like you can't keep it separate. You can't keep it separate. Yeah. So I never thought I would find somebody that matched me in all these different ways. And it's been so cool to just have my best friend and get to hang out all the time.
You guys would be the coolest duo to have like a show together, like a nature show.
Oh my God.
Like exploring,
dude, that's our
fossils and hikes. And I imagine like, I mean, obviously Steve Irwin was kind of like solo, but Terry, his wife, was very much involved. And it takes
people are talking enough about that.
Oh no, it takes a certain type of person to be able to be with someone like Steve Irwin, who is just, he's Steve Irwin. He's unhinged. He's excited. he does whatever.
Oh my gosh.
Wherever the wind takes him, he went. But she was just like this very, like, I hate that it's so cliche, but she was like a rock for him. Yeah. Like she was stabilizing and she was equally as passionate. She just might not have been as exuberant on the outside, but she was is loving and kind. And like, I don't know, I felt for me growing up and she was from Eugene, Oregon, which is where I lived, kind of grew up. And so I remember like learning that and being like, she's from here? That's so cool. And
that's amazing.
Seeing them together, even as a kid, I was like, oh, I love that. Like I'm inspired, by what they have together and what they do. And so, yeah, I just think that would be an added element that's unique to both of you. And I think people would love that.
It's like
I know I would.
It's like you're talking out of our brains right now. Oh my God. Okay. So first of all,
we think about Steve and Terry a lot, actually.
We are going to have to send you a picture. 2 years ago for Halloween, we were actually at a paleontology conference. And we figured everybody was going to dress up because it's a paleo conference on Halloween. And we also figured that everybody was going to dress up as Jurassic Park. So we were like, we're not going to do Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. We're doing Steve and Terry. So we dressed up as Steve and Terry Irwin for the paleo conference, and it was so fun. We'll have to send you the picture.
I carried around a little stuffed mosasaur, so I was actually the mosasaur hunter.
Instead of the crocodile hunter, and I was Terry, and it was so great. People were like, oh my God. But no, it is our dream to be able to do something like what they did. Oh my God. And what Terry and the kids are still doing. Oh my God.
I know.
No, absolutely.
Robert
that
Irwin
family is a powerhouse.
Bindi, I mean,
that
they're
guy
doing
is
so
amazing.
much. Like, oh my God.
Insane that Bindi's like a mom now, and I just remember her being like this like 10-year-old child with her own show. Like,
oh my God.
Crazy.
No, they're so great. Like if anybody out there knows anybody who's trying to produce a cool science education show, hit us up. Because we would love to.
True.
Oh, that'd be so cool. My gosh. Maybe in the next administration when PBS gets more funding, we can approach them
PBS.
about it.
I was such a PBS kid, but who wasn't,
I know. Same.
Oh my gosh.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. That was so beautiful.
Thank you so much for giving us
heartwarming.
A platform to share our story. We so appreciate that.
Oh, it's so cool. I love that so much. Well, the next segment here, last segment, it's going to be a bit more rapid fire. We're going to have to, you guys.
I'm sorry. I'm
so sorry.
We've given you hell to edit.
Never apologize. No, everything you guys have been talking about has been so interesting and intriguing, and I think it's amazing. So
you're the one who's written
that.
all the amazing prompts that allowed us to talk about so many things that we hold so dear. So thank you.
Oh, happy to hear this. Well, next part is Ranger ranking. Woo! So I have 4 questions here, and I'll ask them, and then Matt, you go first, and then Max, and then I will answer, and then we'll move on to the next one.
Sweet.
Okay. So the first one is, what is your biggest pet peeve as a paleontologist?
I gotta go for the people only associating paleontology with dinosaurs rather than all extinct life, because I study mammals, and I think mammals are really cool. That's my answer.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot to pick from. I will say that I'm really tired of people asking me if I am in any way similar to Ross from Friends, who is the biggest asshole in that show. I don't want.
Wait, why do they think that?
Because he's a paleontologist. They always ask us that.
Because that's what they think of when they think paleontologist.
Oh, yeah. I've never seen Friends.
Besides Jurassic Park, that's the only comparison we get.
Right, but Ross is the
Interesting.
asshole in that show. Like, I don't want to be compared to
You're like, voice cracks. I'm not Ross.
Not Ross.
Yeah. No, I'm like Joey.
No, you're like Chandler. Let's be real.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. I'll take it.
I am not a paleontologist, but I will just say that as someone who's dealt, or I shouldn't say dealt, as somebody who has spoken to a few creationists in my time,
yeah.
it was a little frustrating at times because not because they believe that. Obviously, I don't have the same belief, but they would have their kids with them, and they would tell their kids, "Don't listen to this ranger, or don't listen to whatever the plaque says," and that's what bothered me.
Oh
It's
my
like
God,
you're
yeah.
blocking your child from having the opportunity to
learn,
expand their knowledge and to learn.
Yeah,
That's my biggest pet peeve.
That's the best one. If I could change mine, I would change it to that because both Max and I have
Yeah,
experienced that as
actually,
well, and it sucks.
I want to change my answer. I actually like yours better than mine. But
We all agree.
Yeah, we agree. Anyway,
and I've never even worked anywhere that had like fossil stuff. Like, I mean, obviously there's fossils in a lot of places in the West.
again?
I worked on the Deschutes National Forest.
Oh, cool.
So I oftentimes I talked to the public a lot. We had a Lava Lands Visitor Center. Sometimes I would go there and hang out with my dev rec friends that worked there, and if they needed an extra hand, I'd go and like just answer questions for guests and walk around and stuff. But yeah, there were a few people because we had a lot of history about the geology of the place because it's a big lava flow and talking about, anything that's over 6,000 years old, going back to that. And they'd be like, don't read that. I'm like, why do you?
We have a fossil preparation lab at the Badlands Visitor Center, and people would come in with their kids and point at us removing the rock from the fossils and say, see, they're carving those fossils.
Yeesh.
Yeah, that was a rough one. No,
sorry, kid.
No, they're in here. We're just getting the rock off of them. Anyway.
Yeah, if they looked closer, they could see that when the rock falls off, there's just a fresh fossil surface underneath. But
yeah,
a little closer, I guess.
So yeah, we're all in agreement on that one. Okay, so the second one, and this is probably a very hard question for you two, is do you have a favorite fossil?
Oh, we have to have answers locked in for this one, right? Because this is the first thing kids always ask you when they learn you're a paleontologist. So
okay,
my favorite fossil is, if you want me to be specific, Badlands specimen number 64015, which is
yes, 64015.
Everybody's favorite. This is a little oligocene deer-like ruminant that was about 3 to 5 pounds called Santucimeryx ellisei, and it's my favorite because I got to help write a paper that named it, which was really cool. Oh, and I have the 3D print of the skull right here.
Oh my god!
Yeah, so this is the
listeners. It's a little skull with, does it have sharp teeth?
Got little teeth, not so sharp, kind of hard to see, but it's like smaller than the palm of my hand is the entire size of the skull. Very cute and tiny, which is why I love it.
It's like a cat-sized deer.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, and then I guess it's my turn. My favorite fossil is to also list the specimen number FMNH PR495 at the Field Museum.
Such nerds.
It's a Cladastes propython, which is a species of mosasaur, and this particular specimen has just an absurd number of bite marks, presumably from another mosasaur, all across its skull. And I just think it's shocking that this individual survived what must have been the nastiest mosasaur fight of all time.
Yeah. That's a great one.
Wow. Mine is not as specific, and I don't know its number.
That's so fair. That's so fair. Okay. No, we're nerds for saying that.
and actually, I have a question. Before I say it, is petrified wood a fossil?
Yes, absolutely.
Then that's my answer. I love petrified wood.
No, petrified wood.
Because I'm a big rock hounder, and we have a lot of petrified wood in Central Oregon and area. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's a good amount, and you can dig for it or you can surface collect. But I've found some really beautiful agatized petrified wood, which is so cool. It was like this bluish color.
Oh my god, blue? Yeah. That's gorgeous. No, petrified wood is so cool. Yeah. Highly underrated fossil, I think.
Okay, cool. Yay.
So for the audience's clarification, the definition of a fossil is basically just any evidence of prehistoric life at all. So like if you see evidence of burrows in the rock,
that's a fossil.
Technically, the first incident of rust in the fossil record is a fossil because it's evidence of the original like photosynthetic processes putting oxygen into the air.
Those are what we would call
any evidence of life.
Those are what we would call trace fossils. Whereas the ones Max and I listed where there's a skull of an animal or a body part of an animal or a plant, those are body fossils. Yeah. So but any evidence of extinct life or prehistoric life.
The more you know.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, third is a favorite area or a hike or a park, you could take it wherever you want, to see fossils. Where do you like to go? Like, what's your favorite place to go to see fossils?
Well, I think you already know my answer. Badlands National Park. Oh my God. It's one of the richest fossil beds in the entire world, and it preserves this really unique slice of time from the Eocene into the Oligocene, so between like 37 and about 28 million years ago, and it is just littered with fossils. Like, being a ranger there and a paleontologist and getting to do research there and go out in the field and excavate stuff, like tuning my eyes into what those fossils look like. There were, I don't know, maybe 6 times ever that I went outside in Badlands and didn't find a fossil.
Wow.
It's insane. I can't convey like how rich of a fossil bed it is. It's amazing. Highly recommend. Again, it's a highly underrated park just in general. It's so cool.
Awesome.
So if she hadn't already said it, I would have said Badlands National Park. But because she already said it, I'm going to pick northern Alberta, in particular the Wapiti Formation, which is where the Pecky rhinos come from. And the reason I pick it is because it is so. I mean, northern Alberta is so remote, with just wilderness and mountains everywhere. It just feels like real adventure, where you can just be out finding a fossil on some like riverbed that nobody goes to because you have to hike 2 hours just to get there, and then you just look up and there's just a grizzly. Because why not? Because that's where you are. You're in a place where you can just look up and there's a grizzly or a mountain lion or a moose, right? And I think that just level of middle of nowhere adventure, and you look down and there's dinosaurs underneath you. That's pretty cool, man.
It's all about the discovery. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have one answer and then an honorable mention just because it deserves the shout out. But I've talked about this place multiple times now on the podcast, but I don't care. I'm going to say it again, and I'm wearing its hat. Dinosaur National Monument. I went to in September.
Yes,
super underrated. Again, I was like, I'd never even heard of it until my road trip because I was going through. I went to Colorado and then down to Nevada or Utah, Nevada, and came back to Oregon. And I was like, ooh, Dinosaur National Monument. I want to go there. That sounds cool.
It's freaking amazing.
Yes, the Quarry exhibit hall is just, it's massive. And it's like, I mean, talk about Jurassic Park. It looks like something that would be there.
Literally.
Like, it's just this huge like glass building, and there's like this huge wall of where they found all these fossils, and there's all this cool information about it. And yeah, it was amazing. So
you'll love this because the park paleontologist at Dinosaur National Monument is one of our other role models. She's one of the most amazing women in paleo, Rebecca Hunt Foster. She is like such an icon, and we adore her, and she's just so cool. And she runs Dinosaur National Monument, and then her husband, they're another iconic duo in paleo. He is the curator, correct me if I'm wrong?
Yeah, the curator
at the Field Museum in Vernal, Utah, which is where a lot of the specimens from Dinosaur National Monument are housed and stored.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in Vernal, I can't remember if it was Vernal or if it was the town of Dinosaur. I think it was Vernal that had like the museum there.
The town of Dinosaur.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I went to it. It was really cool.
It's a really neat museum.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, the town of Dinosaur doesn't have much going on, unfortunately.
No, it was more of a kind of touristy drive through kind of.
I think they have 13 permanent residents in Dinosaur.
Seriously?
If I'm
That's
not
crazy.
mistaken. Well, if you're talking about Dinosaur Colorado, I don't know if is there a Dinosaur Utah.
Oh, I don't know. I was also talking about the Colorado one. I don't know.
I'd have to look again. I think this was in Colorado.
Yeah.
My first time at Dinosaur National Monument was when I was about 8 years old, and I think I just about died.
Oh my God!
How excited I was. Yeah.
So that's an
I really
pick.
I want to go back and hike or drive up to like the Flaming Gorge and just go through that. I didn't have the time to like do all the offshoots, but next time I will because it was
I could spend a lifetime in Utah.
And then my honorable mention, because I live in Oregon, I have to say John Day Fossil Beds. It's in the middle of absolutely nowhere.
Okay, so when we finally get out there, we're calling you up. You're going to meet us, right?
Please.
Okay, great.
Yes, I love John Day. It's not like a huge park site. It's like on like a historic homestead area, and it has a lot of the older blue rock, and there's like a blue basin hike. It's really cool, and the visitor center is really, really cool, and they do like the ranger talks there, and it's on the John Day River, and it's like high desert. It's really, really pretty. Yeah, I really like it there, but it is in the middle of nowhere.
yeah.
There's a reason they are always putting out hiring.
Oh yeah.
Like, please.
We really want to go.
But the reason we want to go to John Day so bad, not just because it's like such a beautiful place, but the rocks and fossils there are contemporaneous with the ones at Badlands.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
so
so it's a
cool.
lot of the same fauna, which is
It
really
looks
neat.
it looks
and it looks
similar
similar. Yeah.
too. Yeah, a lot of the formations, it's almost like a tiny mini Badlands
yeah.
in a certain area, and you can walk through it, and it's like, yeah, like the sandy looking rock. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't
cool.
know what it's called.
Okay, so
I'm not a
we're gonna
geologist.
call you up when we get out there. Deal. Okay.
Please do.
Yeah.
Okay, last one is we gotta go back to Jurassic Park. If you could
Okay.
if you could go to Jurassic Park, if it was real, would you go?
Only if they seriously fixed up their security systems, because I would like to see, I don't know, like a Triceratops in the flesh. I think that'd be cool. I want to have that moment of them popping out of the top of the Jeep and being like, aha, this is amazing. But they got to fix some stuff first before I'm going.
It's true. I think that honestly, same boat. Like, I right off the bat would have so many ethics complaints about Jurassic Park that that I would probably be I'd probably, if I was in this hypothetical world, also a science communicator, I'd probably be taking an open stance against
Yeah,
Jurassic
that's
Park.
true. Same.
But if they fixed their ethics things, I would probably go. That said, Colossal Biosciences, with what they're doing, I probably would not go to a park that they
No.
founded, because I think that they're wholly unethical in so many ways.
And I concur.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
What about you? Would you go?
I think I would I'd be intrigued.
You got to see it, right? Like, that's the thing.
The only thing is, like, the intimidating thing is the fact that it's on this island
in the middle of nowhere.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Islands owned by billionaires do not have a good rap
It's
these days.
It's true. Bad news.
They tend to not be a good idea.
Yeah.
So I would be hesitant, but I would be very intrigued. So I probably would go.
Hard not to
I
be
would
curious.
want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would obviously the herbivores. Well, I guess I shouldn't say obviously, but for me, I am most interested in the herbivores.
Oh, yeah.
Like this,
Okay.
is it the Stegosaurus that has a long neck?
Oh,
I just
the
or Bronchosaurus.
So the sauropods in general.
Okay.
A group of long-necked dinosaurs. I think the most famous ones would be like Brachiosaurus, Brontosaurus, which is valid, and it wasn't for a long time. Now it's considered valid again.
Stegosaurus is the one with the plates on its back.
And the spiky tail. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Stegosaurus is really cool though.
Yeah. Well, I'd want to see the big long neck ones.
They'd be really cool to see.
They're so cool. I would just want to see the peaceful herbivores, I think, the most.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Like, I'm good on the raptors and all that.
Yeah.
If we learned anything.
Well, just like with the Park Service, stay 25 meters away.
No,
right?
that's literally, oh my God, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was literally about to say, if we've learned anything from the Park Service, it's that people would go up and try to pet the Triceratops. Like,
yeah, I know.
Like the bison. Oh my God.
Get like
headbutted.
Yeah, it's a reptilian bison. I mean,
exactly.
Go pet the skin close.
Oh my gosh.
Well, thank you guys
great.
so much for answering. Yeah, that was super fun. Is there anything else you want to share before we go today? Any messaging or anything you want listeners to know or hear from you?
Oh,
since
man.
you have the platform.
You've used up so much of your time.
No, it's okay. This is great.
Matt, do you want to? You go
I
first.
would say that first and foremost, we just want to say we so appreciate people like you and all the others out there doing all these amazing science communication efforts, because we're trying to do it too. It's hard work, but it's so rewarding, and it's so rewarding to see others doing the same. And we would just encourage everyone listening to keep at it with us, fight for a better future for everyone and every living thing on the planet. And we know that if we all work together, we're going to make progress. Things are going to get better. Don't lose hope, even though it's really easy to lose hope right now. Don't, because we need it to keep going. And I know that's very broad and overarching, but that's our main message in life. That's what we're always trying to get through to people. The more you understand about our planet and our shared history altogether, which is the one thing all of us have in common, the better off we're going to be in the future. The more we're going to care, the more we're going to do what's right.
Well said.
I was kind of thinking of taking it in a similar vein. I guess I'll just say that.
Wait, we have the same brain again?
Yeah, as it turns out, there's nothing more important in the world than the world itself, because it is our shared home between all people, between all animals, all plants, all fungi, all bacteria, all everything. It is our shared home. Its history is our shared heritage. Its future is our shared future. And all of it reflects how we treat it reflects on us. And it's our legacy will be reflected in the health and future of this planet. And so protect it at all costs, because it is the most important thing that you could ever do. There is nothing at all that outweighs the protection of the future of our planet in importance. Nothing. Not a single damn.
And we're not ever going to get a second shot at this. So
snaps all around. Couldn't have said it better. Well, where can people find your science communicator work? Where can they follow along and
find you guys? If you guys want to come laugh and learn with us, that's what we're trying to do out here. We try to post pretty frequently if we can about all sorts of stuff, not just paleontology, natural history in general, really. You can find me at GeoSplore, which is GeoSplore on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. And then Max and I have shared pages on YouTube, Blue Sky, and Patreon under the same username. We're trying to kind of combine our brands, merge into one a little bit, so we don't have to manage 2 separate pages on every single platform. But
that's a lot of work.
Our company is called GeoSplore. We actually have it registered as an LLC.
But awesome. You can find Max.
On Instagram at Notorious Naturalist Max, or on TikTok as just Notorious Naturalist.
Okay, you heard it here, and I'll put all of that in the show notes for listeners to find you.
Oh, thank you.
So they can click that and get to all your pages. So, well, thank you both so much. This was so fun. We
had so much fun.
This much in a while, so that was much needed. Absolutely. Well, best of luck to you on your science communicator work, and I'm sure that we will see each other again. Come to Oregon. Let's go to John Day, and that would be awesome.
That would be so awesome. Thank you so much for having us on. This was such a blast. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Yay. Thank you all so much for joining me this week. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, tune in again next week. Rangers of the Lost Park streams new episodes every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific Time on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Please download, subscribe, and give me a review. Check out and subscribe to my Patreon for bonus content and more perks as a Ranger friend. If you want to submit a Ranger Tea story or a cool outdoor story of your choice, please use the listener story form. And lastly, if you or someone you know want to be a guest on the podcast, please use the Submit a Guest form. All forms are in the show notes, and also see show notes for relevant links. Thank you so much for your listening ear and for supporting me.
We are Rangers of the Lost Park,
encouraging you to Ranger on.